Welcome into the hunt. More applause. Turn this up a little bit. There you go. A little bit better volume. Welcome in to the High Noon Rant. Yeah, I called it the High Noon Rant, even though it's 12:30. It's the rant. We do it every day around this time, typically somewhere around 12 o'clock. Today, Friday. Had some meetings. Got meetings before. Got a meeting afterwards. You may notice no hat today. Forgot my hat. Yeah, I wear the same thing every day on camera because sometimes I like to do editing. And I want to be able to take things that maybe I did on one day and create a supercut with something that I did on a different day. And I would like there to be some kind of uniformity in the way it looks. So that's the reason why I don't wear something different every day. Anyway, today I forgot my hat. So I really look like a light bulb, a thumb, whatever it is you want to call me. That's what I look like. Hi, April. April's in the chat room. Mikey D's here. Mikey D says people may have issues with, I'm not talking about J.D. Vance and Joe Rogan. Barney, my guy Barney, walks into the chat room. The first thing he's like, Rogan and Vance. I'm like, fuck you, dude. We don't talk about people like that here. Rogan and Vance. I'm going to watch Joe Rogan interview. No. If you can't see it, you can't see it. And I'm just not going to waste my time. People talking about politics. And why wouldn't you? This is a current event show. And yet I reject almost all political discourse. I don't know. We're a week away from the election. I get it. It's on people's mind. I'm doing everything I can to not talk about this bullshit election. And the lamestream media, I remember, wasn't it Sarah Palin who said that first? The mainstream media has just whipped all of you people up into thinking that this is important. It's not important. It's all a construct that we're all convinced at birth to buy into, and we never question it. America will chug on, irregardless of what occurs next week. Yeah, it's like religion. Politics and religion. You know, when I was a young bartender, I had a grizzled old veteran of the bar scene once explain to me that, one of the great tools a bartender has in his trick bag is an ability to connect with every stranger that sits down at his bar. Talk to him about anything. Got to have the gift of gab. Two areas you don't go into, and it's a bit of a cliche that I'm saying it this way because, God, tell me you haven't heard this before. Two things you don't talk about at a bar: politics and religion. And you know why? He explained it to me once about the religion aspect, and I thought to myself, wow, I'd never thought about it that way. Why don't you bring up religion with people? Same with politics, but let's just talk about religion. Why don't you bring up religion with strangers? And he told me, he said, you got to look at it like this. He goes, religion is not a choice. Religion is something that people have. Your very first memory as a baby very easily could be some head, some big moon-faced head leaning over the bassinet you were laying in, saying something like, Jesus loves you. Much like politics, I'm using the example of religion, but much like politics, we're not really ever given a choice. We're not really ever allowed to consider all the options and then find our own way. So we don't bring that up here. That's the kind of talk show that we are. We are a classic talk show. We don't give a shit how you vote. We don't give a shit where you pray. If you pray, good for you. Everybody needs a crutch. Everybody needs something to get them through this world. You vote, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, you should vote. I'm not voting. I told you guys this weeks ago. I'm not voting. That ship has sailed. I'm not involved in any of this. I'm going to leave this to you losers. You losers, go ahead. Get involved in this nonsense. Barney, my guy Barney, one of my favorite people. Barney's in here going, I got hope for the future because I saw J.D. Vance with Joe Rogan. I happen to know Barney's a smart guy. Anyway, I'm so tired. I just want it all to be done, guys. I want it all to be done. There's other things to talk about. There's fun things to talk about. I'm not going to lie to you. There are a couple of politically tinged things we'll get into here, because that's what we do here. We talk about the world. We talk about current events, hot topics, whatever it is that's trending. If people are buzzing about it, I give it to you every day right here on the Noon Show. Talk radio, the way talk radio should be, without bullshit political partisanship or long-form breakdowns of the 12-man offense. It's all sports and politics. I'm trying to do something different here. And we've been doing it here this way for 3 years. Let me tell you a little bit about the show. It's a stream of consciousness performed by me, which means no breaks, no stops, no nothing, just me talking. It's 4 segments, essentially. You can track your place in the show by what segment we're in. First segment, we call it Antecedently on This Day. It's just basically, let's look at the history of this day. What has happened on this day that we need to be aware of? Quarter 2 is birthdays. Just people, famous people. They're born on this day. Do we like them? Do we wish them a happy birthday, or do we just go tell them to kick rocks? I don't know. We get that decision in quarter 2. Quarter 3 is dead. Same thing as quarter 2, basically, except it's dead. People died on this day. Notable quotables, historical figures, celebrities, that kind of thing, dead on this day. We decide in quarter 3 whether they went to heaven or did they go to hell, just based on what we understand about how they lived their life. Quarter 4, that's where we get into the big stuff. That's all the hot topics, current events, the stuff that's actually happening today. Quarter 4 is the big bulk of the show. So get ready. Whole thing takes about 2 hours, and at the end of it, it is my hope that all of us here that gather in the chat room or other ways that we listen to the stream, that we all have at least a firm understanding of what the hell people are talking about today. Okay. Hi, Peter. Peter's in the chat room. Adam's in the chat room. We've got Peter and Adam going at it. We got Al in the chat room. We got Jeffy in the chat room. I said we got Byron in the chat. Not Byron. I didn't say Byron. I mean Barney. My guy Barney. Jeff Ballard. We don't do politics, but we got a couple of political things we're going to get into. Yeah, is that funny to you? I mean, we're not a political show, but we do talk about the world. And unfortunately, the era that we live in, we dip our toes in this bullshit. What I should say, I guess, and maybe Jeff has a point here, is we don't do partisan politics. We do politics through my lens, the lens of a guy who thinks you're all fucking ridiculous. All of you who think you have a team. Everybody's just trying to get theirs. Barney says it's just good to know that there are some younger people capable of intelligent thought. Yes, Barney, guess what? There are a lot of fucking smart young people. As a matter of fact, and this is a hill I will die on, generational cohorts have gotten better from a human standpoint since Generation X. We are the last bad generation. And the whole reason that Gen X and boomers have spent the past 20 years maligning millennials and now Gen Zers is because they do things differently, because they're kinder. My kid at 15 years old is and his friends, this isn't just my kid is special. It's not that nonsense. But even his friends, amongst his friends, they are so much smarter. They're so much more tuned in. They're just better people. Yes, they're still children and they're teenagers and they act impetuous and they do things that are dickhead things because they're kids. But on the whole, man, I am telling you, generations are getting better. So don't be surprised when you see young people doing things that you're impressed by. Be impressed by young people. There are a lot of young people who are fucking awesome out there. They don't all suck. That is a point of view that older people take based almost entirely on their own mortality. I don't like young people and the way they do things. Yeah, because you're 60 now. Because you wish you could still be doing those. Shut the fuck up about young people sucking. There has never been a generation that would openly say, this next generation is amazing. No, every generation shits on the ones that are coming. This is just the way we are. We're complainers, humans. We are so fucking flawed. Bring on the alien DNA. That's what I say. We need more aliens kidnapping and raping humans and creating this hybrid society that I believe I'm a part of already. Alien DNA, that's what we need. Look at that. Now that is what I call a stream of consciousness rant. I just went nuts. I went off the grid. David Burrows says Gen Z is my favorite group. I'm 62. Yeah, man, they're not bad people. They're actually good people. They're good. Like they're not mean. I'll give you just a case, just an example. And this is one that a lot of people have a problem with. Like, this is like, if this is a triggering issue for you, you're an asshole. Okay? Bullying. My kid and his friends, bullying is certainly an issue because there's dickhead kids, because, you know, kids are going to be dickheads. But my kid at 15 and his friends, they don't bully. They don't bully, like they call out bullies. Like, that dude's a bully. Fuck that guy. I don't like that. That's bully behavior. Being tuned into bully behavior, people, which is, let's break down what bully behavior is. It's just an individual acting like an asshole. An asshole. Someone acting like an asshole to other people. Calling that out now is normalized. Calling that out is no longer, oh, you keep your mouth shut, or Big Tony's got a knuckle sandwich for you after school. Fuck that. They don't do that anymore. They're better. They look out for each other. That's a micro example. There are a million examples of how human beings, these generations, are actually becoming better people. And dare I say, what is a better person? I don't know. Maybe somebody who walks more in the shadow of Jesus than a bunch of other people who don't give a fuck about anybody. It's all about me. Never trust anyone. They're all out to get you. That fucking attitude from the greatest generation, the World War II, the boomer generation, never trust anyone. That is really not being adopted by the younger generations. And that is good for humanity. It's good for us moving forward. Just trying to be fucking cooler with people, man. Nobody's interested in the asshole anymore. The guy that's like, I'll tell you, I've had enough of this, and I'm going to tell it like it is guy. Nobody gives a fuck about you, tell it like it is guy. And yes, I am completely aware that in this moment, I am actually taking the form of a tell it like it is guy. Shut your fucking mouth. Nobody cares about your opinion, okay? Oh, well, you going to be provocative here? Is this your turn to be interesting? It's not interesting anymore because everybody's got a hot take. Everybody is a shock jock. Stop it. It's not fun. It's not fun. All right, that was fun. What do I got to bring you up on? Football. Yeah, we got football. This is a small talk segment. Kid had football yesterday. 15-year-old junior varsity football up there in the north suburbs. North Tech. Far, man. I went far. Let me tell you what a psycho I am. It was far. It was like way up in McKinney. It took me forever to get there. I left from downtown at like 3:45 for like a 5:30 game, and I barely made it. It was nuts. But I'll tell you one of the upsides. We'll get to the game. You people don't care. You people don't care about my kid's win or loss record. Here's what you care about. On the way home, guess what I had? Guess what your boy had? I treated myself. I shouldn't be treating myself. I shouldn't be. I'm in no position to be treating myself. But I had Portillo's last night. That's right. Went to the Portillo's up there at the Allen Outlet Mall, which is one of them malls. It's one of them American malls. There's, I don't know, there's probably a couple hundred American malls now that have the distinction of the Allen Outlet Mall. Of course, the site of a massacre. Anyway, it didn't stop me. I went to Portillo's. Here's what I got me at Portillo's after the game. God, I was so hungry. I got me a Maxwell Polish sausage, which is this is my go-to order. You want to know my go-to order? This is my go-to order at a Texas Portillo's. This is not my go-to order at a Chicago Portillo's, but it is my go-to at a Texas Portillo's. It's a Maxwell Polish. It's a Polish sausage sandwich with grilled onions. It's a deep-fried Polish sausage with grilled onions and mustard on an amazing bun. It's so good. Ugh. Maxwell Polish kicks ass. And then I get the big beef, which is an Italian beef sandwich. It's just a giant Italian beef sandwich. So I got the big beef Italian beef sandwich. I got me a Polish sausage, a Maxwell Polish, and I got me a chocolate cake shake. I said I was treating myself. You ever sit in the driveway and you're doing the math? Like, you're like, okay, how much can I spend here? I really am craving this. I really want this. This is going to be so good. I'm just going to fat shame myself. I did the thing where you sit in the parking lot and you eat. Hold on a second. Hold on. I got to take that call. That call is very important to what we do here. I'll be right back. All right, so now back to my story already in progress. I do apologize. Here at the E-Gallery Studios, we've got a lot going on. Business is churning. So I told you I stop at the Portillo's after my kids' game. I get me the Maxwell Polish. I get me a big beef. I get me a big beef. By the way, here's how you order it. I'll take a big beef. I want it sweet and hot. Dunk it. That's it. That's how you order it. You know, in the early days of Portillo's here in Texas, like the kids taking the orders didn't know the terminology. They had no idea. I was like baptize it because you could dunk it. I guess we're calling it dunking it here in Texas, but in Chicago you say baptize it. That means you take the whole sandwich and you dunk it in the juice. You make the entire sandwich soaking wet. A gross, disgusting, sopping thing of wet bread. It's amazing. Chocolate cake shake. Had to get that because I was doing the math. I'm like, you know what? Look, I'm just gonna get a small chocolate cake shake. And I also did it's not 1979 anymore, so I know that when I order a small chocolate cake shake, it will come in a container that in 1979 would have been like a super large. You ever notice that? Seriously, a small like chocolate shake nowadays is what a large used to be when I was a kid. That's now it's small. So I got that. I ate it. But here's what a psycho I am. So I decided, because it's kids' weekend. I got to pick my kid up today. We're going to do a whole football weekend. I guess we're just going to watch football. So I got to pick him up today. We got boys' weekend. And I'm such a psycho that I took the bag of Portillo's and I balled it up and I stuck it under my kid's seat where he's going to sit in the car. Now, people in Chicago know what I'm talking about. People in Texas maybe don't. One of the problems with certain Chicago restaurants, be it a gyros place, be it a White Castle's, or be it a Portillo's, is that they stink. The food stinks. You got to get it out of the car, or else the entire car is going to reek like onions, grilled onions in the case of my Portillo's Maxwell Polish, and I stuffed that under my kid's seat. In my car, I checked it this morning, still reeks of Portillo's. It's awesome. It's like some people want new car scent. I want my car to smell like Maxwell Polish sausage sandwiches. Oh. And the kid won. They won. Hey, we're back on the winning streak. Who do we play? We played McKinney High School. Good program. We went up there. We played McKinney High School. Good program. We stomped them. Last week we got stomped. We ain't talking about that. We don't talk about the losses, but we do crow about the victories. All right. We are in the middle, of course, of what we call Pledge Week here on the show. This show runs completely on your donations. You people, you good, fine folks who say, hey, I'm tired of the state of talk radio in America. I don't like everything being boiled down to political partisanship or sports. I want to support a kind of talk radio that has occurred every day for 3 years from a guy who seems like a decent dude. That's me. I am a decent dude. Who seems like a decent dude, who's just talking about the world. There's no place for him in terrestrial radio. So he has set up shop right here at the E-Gallery, the beautiful Kelly Moore Memorial Studios, and he does his show free of charge. No commercials, no interruptions. All he asks, I like it when I talk about myself in the third person. All he asks is that if you have a couple of extra shekels in your pocket, you donate to the show. This is how it's been working now for 3 years. And every month we get into this Pledge Week. And I'm going to put it up right now. There you go. We're going to scroll it. There it is. There's the Pledge Week scroll. You notice the number hasn't moved since yesterday. We still need to raise $280 by the end of Wednesday's show. Heading into a weekend, it's just going to get worse. We have no executive producer today. They didn't get any tips yesterday. That's okay. It's okay for like a normal day during the month. That's fine. That's, we get across the finish line when we need to. But when we go a day during Pledge Week and there's no tips, that hurts. That hurts. It's like somebody didn't even go, that was worth $1. Like, it's like, really? All right. That's okay, though. We got a whole bunch of other things going on here. We're working on other projects. I'm stepping behind what is that called? Like if I'm not going to be doing content anymore, but I'm going to be producing it. What would that be called in this frame? Would this be like behind? I don't know. Whatever. We've got other things that we're doing here, but We are still trying to keep this going. So as we said from the beginning, as long as we can make the bare minimum that we need to create this show for you every day for a couple of hours, talk radio, the way talk radio isn't being done anywhere else, we're going to continue to try. So here we sit on a Friday of Pledge Week telling you that this is where we try. We've got till Wednesday. All right, there we go. That's enough of that. We don't need any more nonsense. Let's talk about all the things that are happening in the world. What do you say? Let's get started with the rant. It is the rant for the very first day of November, year of our Lord 2024. Did you know that November the 1st is the 306th day of the year? There's 306 pages torn off the calendar. I mean, 60, 2 months, basically. 2 months. I don't know. 30 days in a month, 31. I prefer 31 because I always pay my bills late. So whatever. We got like 2 months till New Year's Eve. So as we like to say around these parts, get those New Year's Eve plans started. That's right. That's what we say. Let's go to quarter one. Quarter one, some people might call it this day in history. Some people might say previously on November the 1st. We call it antecedently on this day because I'm a pretentious jerk sometimes. All right, let's talk about all the things that have happened on this day. Oh, boy. Here we go. Google Drive screwing with me. Hey, guys, you know what I wanted to point out? And this is longtime viewers of this stream. You'll appreciate this. I realized this the other day. I realized it the other day because it happened to me somewhere else. I have not had a hiccup fit on the air since moving to the E-Gallery. Since establishing the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios at the E-Gallery, I have not had one of those hiccup fits. Remember, it used to be every day before the show. Every day before the show, I would start hiccuping. And here's what I think that's due to. I used to tell you how, when I did the show from home and didn't have to get out and go out in the world and, move around and get dressed and all that stuff. When I did the show from home, when I would start talking at noon, it was like basically the first words I'd said all day. So it was just like silence for like 5-6 hours in the morning when you're putting the show together and all that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And I believe that's what was causing the hiccups. So now when I start talking, when I start doing the show every day here from the E-Gallery, I've already had conversations with people. I've already, been up and around. So maybe that's it. But anyway, let's not tempt fate. Let's just acknowledge that we are appreciative of the fact that I haven't had debilitating hiccups in quite some time. I did the other night, though. I did the other night when I was laying in bed. I was watching TV. But it was hot hiccups. You ever get hot hiccups? I didn't realize this was a thing. I get hiccups when I eat jalapenos. Like jalapenos make me hiccup. Like if I eat raw jalapenos, I'm going to start hiccuping. I don't know. I got to stop eating raw jalapenos, but I love them. Antecedently on this day in the year 1512, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, as painted by Michelangelo, anyway, the Sistine Chapel, they debuted the ceiling for the first time. Look, and everybody went, he painted on a ceiling. Wow. It was 1512, people. Get over yourself. He painted on a ceiling. Again, this is another one of those deals where, yeah, it was cool because maybe it was the first or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it was rare. It ain't rare anymore. You can paint on ceilings. You actually paint the ceiling now. You actually paint it now when it's on the ground, and then you put it up there. They've perfected how you paint the ceiling. You think Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel is impressive? You ever seen the fucking Sphere in Las Vegas? Fuck you, Michelangelo. The Sphere in Vegas, baby. That's what we're talking. I'm not impressed by you. You painted some angels, or aliens, depends. You painted some aliens or angels on a ceiling, and come on, 500-600 years ago at this point. On this day in 1512, the Sistine Chapel opens for viewing. On this day in 1604, William Shakespeare's tragedy Othello is performed for the very first time. On this day in 1611, Shakespeare's play The Tempest is performed for the very first time. Othello and The Tempest. I mean, I'm trying to think of I'm a big Shakespeare fan. Like, I loved Shakespeare. I got turned on to Shakespeare in high school. Had this really interesting teacher. He taught a bunch of cool history classes, and one of them, he taught Shakespeare, so I took that too, and I got way into Shakespeare. And then in college, I did a whole bunch of Shakespeare courses because I was just fascinated by it. I wasn't fascinated by Shakespeare. And I, just like you, just like everybody else, wildly put off by the "Hark thou, art thou come to thine stank." The fucking Shakespeare speak. That's bullshit. I hate it. What I was intrigued by with the whole opening to me of the Shakespearean world was how almost every story that we tell now, and I'm a bit of a storyteller. I like to tell a story. I like to write a story. How every story that is told today is in some way attached to a story that Shakespeare is told first. I mean, I told you, I'm watching Sons of Anarchy. Like I'm rewatching Sons of Anarchy. And this wasn't news to me. I knew this when Sons of Anarchy debuted. The reason that I tuned into Sons of Anarchy is because I had read some reviews of the show that talked about how it was a modern day adaptation of Hamlet. And that's what the Sons of Anarchy is. It's Hamlet. If you know Hamlet and then you know Sons of Anarchy, you're like, same fucking story. It's the same story. A couple of things have been changed to modern up things, and Anyway, Shakespeare. It was on this day that he liked to debut some plays. And he did some big ones, The Tempest and Othello. Antecedently on this day in 1765, the British Parliament enacts the Stamp Act on the 13 colonies. They do this in order to help pay off their military operations in North America. This is the thing that this started it all. But what's interesting about it, because I don't know that we ever look at it in this way, the Stamp Act occurred in 1765. It was 11 years later that the revolution started. So it's like, I think like in my mind, when I think back about the revolution, I'm like, well, they put a tax on tea and the Stamp Act. And then like that night, everybody ran to the harbor and they threw all the tea in the harbor. And then like the next day, it was 4th of July, right? We think about it in those terms, but it took time, 11 years between the Stamp Act and the Boston Tea Party and the Revolution and all of that stuff. On this day, 1765, the Stamp Act is enacted by the British Parliament on the 13 colonies. Antecedently on this day in 1870, the United States, the Weather Bureau, later named the National Weather Service, makes its official debut. Makes its first I'm not going to try and say it. Meteorological. There you go. Very first one. I don't know if it was right. I don't know if it was wrong, but whatever. It was on this day in 1870. On this day, antecedently, in the year 1896, a picture showing the bare breasts of a tribeswoman appears in National Geographic magazine for the first time. Swahili boobs made their debut in National Geographic on this day in 1896. All right, let's think about that for a moment, shall we? Because I got a bit of a hot take. I know I was preaching about how we don't need people with hot takes. Well, we need people like me with hot takes. I'm doing a stream. The whole point of this stream is hot takes. My argument is with you civilians. You civilians don't need to be issuing hot takes left and right. You don't know how to play the hot take game. Neither do I, really. None of us do. That's why so many get canceled. Here's a hot take. You know what? Not a hot take. Let me present it to you this way. Why was it okay to show boobs in National Geographic? And how do we know National Geographic had boobs? Because kids, boys, would go to the library in middle school or grade school or whatever, and they'd go to the National Geographics and they'd show everybody tribal lady boobs. Look at the tribal boobs. And I've always wondered, why was that acceptable? And I think I've come down on the side of because they were African tribal people. And perception in the way that those kinds of human beings were viewed was subhuman. So it couldn't possibly be sexual or titillating. This was educational. This was anthropological, which I guess is the argument. And that might have been an acceptable scientific argument back in the time. Well, what do you mean? This isn't sexual. These are well, boys like boobs, so boobs are sexual. So my question is this: I feel like there's a difference between racism in what I call institutional racism. Institutional racism, problematic certainly because it sets the tone. But institutional racism is more stuff like popularly accepting the ideas that nobody could be turned on by an African tribal woman because she's subhuman, because she's not a human. That was the scientific thing. But then boys were looking at it, and I don't know. I don't think I ever got turned on. Like, there's definitely a difference between finding a National Geographic and finding a Playboy. You know, right? You're 10 years old. You got a National Geographic. You're looking at the boobs, and you're fine. But you're putting that down when your buddy walks in with a Playboy. I'm trying to remember, was it sexual? Was it sexual, or was it just because Playboy magazines and stuff were sexual to kids. You'd open that up, you'd see boobs, and be like, sexual. That same kid opens up a National Geographic, he's seeing boobs, and he's giggling because he's seeing boobs, but is it sexual? Are we dehumanizing African tribal people? I don't know. We don't need to spend much more time on it. It's just a thought exercise. I'm just working my way through it. Anyway, first boobs in National Geographic on this day. 1896. On this day, antecedently in the year 1941, American photographer Ansel Adams takes a picture of a moonrise over the town of Hernandez, Mexico. It would become one of the most famous photographs in history. And I had to think about this. I'm like, what picture is that? I don't even know what picture that is. Here it is. This picture was taken on this day. Apparently it's famous. Gotta be honest with you. Don't think I've ever seen this picture before. But it's Ansel Adams, and they say it's the most famous photograph ever taken. Personally, I think the monk, right? Or wait, the Vietnam kid getting his head blown off. I think that's a pretty big one. I think baby Jessica being yanked out of the well. I think that's a pretty big one. I'm trying to think of the important photographs that I've seen. It is a beautiful picture, though. I'll give him that. Ansel Adams took the moonrise photo on this day. I don't know what day was it. Ansel Adams. What year is he? What are we talking about? When was this guy around? Let me see. What year was it? It was 1941. Okay, he's relatively modern. Would have to be. Photography and whatnot. Antecedently on this day in the year 1968, the Motion Picture Association of America institutes their film rating system for the very first time. 1968. I mean, I don't know, is that one of the things we ever think about? There were no ratings, right? The Wizard of Oz wasn't rated. Gone with the Wind wasn't rated. Casablanca wasn't rated. Citizen Kane wasn't rated. Now ratings. It's all movies we just accepted as ratings. The original ratings that were introduced was G, which of course for general audiences, G. Man, there ain't nothing worse for like an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid than to be taken to a G movie. Right? PG movies. That was fun. If you could get like an older brother, or you could get like, an aunt or someone to take you to a PG movie, woo, you made it. G sucked. You knew G was going to be like, Darby Gill and the Little People, some bullshit, some 1970s kids TV or kid movie bullshit. All right, what else do we have? We had G, M. I don't know what M is. I'm guessing M is mature. Mature, right? And then there's R. We still have R. Restricted. R means restricted. Okay, so G means general audiences. M means mature. It means, this is a bit more grown up. Talking about divorce and people smoking. That's mature. Then came R. We know what R is. Restricted. No one under 17 allowed without a parent. And then X, which was almost never used. I believe there's only like 3 or 4 movies in the history of like real Hollywood films. And by that, I mean studio pictures. I think there's only like 3 or 4 of them that have ever been rated X. And it's, considered you're going to lose all your money on this movie. I think Scarfish. That should be a character in SpongeBob. Scarfish. You should be a Cuban starfish. I don't know. Just riffing now. Scarface was, I think, originally X, and then De Palma brought it back and he fixed it. And of course, we know what Triple X is. Triple X is porno. I don't know what double X is. Don't think I've ever seen double X. Don't know. But it was on this day, 1968, film ratings were introduced. I remember when PG-13 was introduced. PG-13 was introduced in the 1980s, and I remember being, that's interesting. So PG was parental guidance, which means, hey, your kids can go see this. We're not going to ban people under 17 because the studios need to make money. But, there's some tits. That was PG, parental guidance. Hey, we're guiding you on this one, parents. Antecedently on this year in 1982, Honda becomes the first Asian automobile company to produce cars in the United States with the opening of its factory in Marysville, Ohio. They built the Accord, became America's #1 selling automobile in almost no time. The Honda Accord. All right, let's do birthdays. These are people having birthdays today. They say it's their birthday. Who knows? I don't know. They just claiming it is. One person I'm calling bullshit on. One person, we're celebrating their birthday, and I'm like, that's bullshit. That is not when they were born. And it's such a weird, like, why did this person change their, it's got to be 1 year. It's like they changed their age from 1 year. I don't know why they did that, but anyway. Let's do birthdays. Born on this day in 1942, Larry Flynt. American publisher, founder, Larry Flynt Publications. He is held up by people as just this great warrior for the First Amendment. He was a scumbag. Stop it. Yes, people can be multiple things. Was he, in fact, a tireless warrior for First Amendment rights? Yes. Was he also a scumbag pornographer that did a whole bunch of shady shit and was probably, garbage guy? Yes. Yes. Larry Flynt was all of those things. Larry Flynt, born on this day in 1942. Born on this day in 1944. We just lost him a couple months ago. Let's pour some out for the late, great Kinky Friedman. Texas Ledman. Oh, I was thinking of the Texas Jew Boys. Kinky Friedman, leader of the Texas Jew Boys. Dead this year, just a couple months ago. Born on this day, 1944. Born on this day in 1957, another great Texan. I don't know, probably. Just feels like Lyle Lovett is from Texas, doesn't it? It just feels like Lyle Lovett is from Abilene. Let's go there. All right, happy birthday, Lyle Lovett. Born on this day in 1957. Born on this day in 1960. He runs Apple TV. He runs Apple, and they are trending today. We're going to talk about Apple. Happy birthday, and yes, it is, to Tim Cook. Tim Cook getting some good news on his birthday. We'll cover that in trends coming up in Q4. Born on this day in 1960, Tim Cook, president, CEO, guy who replaced, you can never replace Steve Jobs, the guy who ascended to Steve Jobs' role within Apple. Born on this day in 1960, Tim Cook. Also born on this day in 1960. Oh, man. Oh, we just lost him last week. We just did a whole memorial thing for Fernando Valenzuela. Legendary Dodgers pitcher, just a great, great personality and character, an icon in the history of Major League Baseball. Passed away last week. Fernando Valenzuela didn't get to see his Dodgers win another World Series. Happy birthday, Fernando Valenzuela. Born on this day in 1960. Born on this day in 1962, Anthony Kiedis. And I guess my late partner Kelly's not lifelong, but 25-year feud with Anthony Kiedis will go to the grave with her. There you go. They never made up. My partner Kelly and Anthony Kiedis had a feud. She was feuding with him and Magic Johnson, and she was feuding with somebody else. The Anthony Kiedis one, I remember the details of. It happened, I want to say, in Las Vegas. He bumped into her. She said something to him. He said something snotty. She said, "What are you, drunk?" It was Red Hot Chili Peppers lead singer Anthony Kiedis. Kelly took that to the grave with her. A lifelong feud with Anthony Kiedis. Anthony Kiedis, born on this day in 1962. Born on this day in 1963. Here's another amazing man. Here's another amazing icon of rock and roll. He's an icon of rock and roll. His band is great and all that stuff, but his band is great the way 700 other bands are great. There's a lot of great bands. Band's successful. This band's very successful, but like 700 other bands are very successful. They're not Led Zeppelin. They're not the Beatles, but they're a good band. They're a great band. I enjoy them. And he's an icon because he's the one-armed drummer from Def Leppard. That's right. Rick Allen. Rick Allen, the one-armed drummer from Def Leppard. Born on this day. I mean, it's like the worst possible injury to a drummer. He lost his arm. He's just a one-handed drummer. And then but I don't know, whatever. He still toured. They accommodated him. And whatever. It's cool. It's cool seeing the one-armed drummer. Rick Allen, English musician, born on this day in 1963. Born on this day in 1972. I call bullshit on this. I call bullshit on this. This person was not born in 1972. I would have bet the Kids Child Fund that this person was born in 1971, maybe even 1970. But for some reason, at some point in their career, they decided to dial their age back a couple of years. Maybe they didn't want to hit 30 when they were hitting 30, and now they're living with it. And I'm telling you, it's bullshit. Jenny McCarthy, born on this day, supposedly 1972. No, because she was 2 years younger than me. She went to Mother Macaulay High School. I knew somebody who took her to prom. She wasn't born in 1972. She wasn't 3 years younger than me. Anyway, moving on. Born on this day in 1996. Here's the last one. I don't know who this person is. This person is dead. This is a person that I've heard my son talk about. Apparently, my son likes this person. For some reason, they did something, and my son thinks it was cool. But again, he's dead, and he was born on this day in 1996. Lil Peep. Lil Peep. My son likes a lot of rappers with Lil in their names. I know he likes. Isn't there a little baby? Isn't there a little baby that he likes too? I don't know. Anyway, that's going to do it for birthdays. Those are the people who were born on this day. Now let's move on to the deads. Quarter 3. This is where we talk about people who died on this day and decide whether or not they went to heaven or went to hell. Let's get things started. Dead on this day, 1955, Dale Carnegie. Holy shit. Batten down the hatches. You want to hear me riff on Dale Carnegie? Dale Carnegie was an author. He was a motivational speaker. He was a guy that basically became famous. I'll put it to you this way. There are people who are disciples of Dale Carnegie. And I've got a lot of friends who are. I will also say this. The absolute worst people you know, there's a likelihood that they are really into Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie created a sales method. Dale Carnegie was author of books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Basically, what Dale Carnegie did was he streamlined and simplified so that he could sell how-to books on the art of manipulation. That's what Dale Carnegie was. One of the core ideas of Dale Carnegie's entire system is that it is possible to change other people's behavior by changing the way you behave towards them. Which, of course, in an optimistic and beautiful world would be a good thing. It's like, yes, if you're just loving to everybody. But that's not what he taught. This is the art of manipulation. Finding your pigeon, if you will, although he would never use such words because that was crass. But finding your mark and then changing who you are in the moment of sale in order to get that money, honey. Some of the absolute worst people are denizens of the Dale Carnegie success system. And all it is a normalization of the idea that a con man is going to try and manipulate his mark. That's Dale Carnegie. Oh, and I'll have fights with you with this over beers. Let's go out and get some beers. If you're one of these Dale Carnegie people, I will talk to you about tenets. I read those books. I thought that they were things that a young man on the make should know. And guess what I realized really quickly? This guy's an asshole. This guy's he doesn't care about cheating. He doesn't care if the customer isn't satisfied. He's just all about how to win your mark. So yeah, Dale Carnegie, dead on this day in 1955, created generations of the absolute worst salespeople you ever dealt with. Fuck him. He's going to hell. All right, now, dead on this day in 1999. We're going to slow things down, all right? It's going to be a couple skate. We will resume all skates later. It's going to be a couple skates. We're going to slow things down because this is a big one. This is a big death for me. I talked the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact. Who were we talking about? Were we talking about Hallis? Was it like George Hallis's birthday or something? It's like, and I'm like, I remember exactly where I was. It was, because it was Halloween. It was George Halas died on Halloween. And I remember talking about exactly how I was and how it was such a crazy, like dark, sad, gloomy day in Chicago. The whole city was in mourning. It was just like, that sucks, man. Papa Bear's dead, right? So I remember that vividly from being a child. And I said, maybe you in Dallas, maybe you had the same sort of thing similarly with Tom Landry or, something like that. Certainly ain't going to have it with Jerry Jones. I promise you, when Jerry Jones goes, there is not going to be a weeks-long malaise hanging over the city of Dallas or Fort Worth or Texas. Nobody's going to miss Jerry. But I talked about how the city legitimately had an affection for the mean, cantankerous old George Halas. Well, if that was the case with George Halas, I can tell you that on this day, Walter Payton died. Walter Payton, who is singularly, I will tell you, the most beloved, revered, worshipped athlete in the history of Chicago. And why is it a big deal that I say it like that? Because Chicago had Michael fucking Jordan, okay? And Chicagoans are like, yeah, Mike, you're great. You ain't Walter. Walter just meant something to the people there. Walter was just an important person. Walter had the world by the balls, and he seemed to carry himself like a gentleman, like the most fun guy at the party. Walter didn't get in a lot of trouble, although I do suspect that if Walter had been in this era, maybe Walter would have, maybe there'd have been some tweets about Walter's nightlife party boy behavior that maybe, didn't do the reputation of the NFL's Man of the Year, all of that. But that's one of the reasons why the NFL Man of the Year award is named after him, because he carried himself like a man. He carried himself like a member of the community. He became an important part of the Chicago community with schools and kids and all that stuff. He's just a really great guy. And again, I know that you can overturn some stones, and we'll probably find some things. A friend could come out of the woodwork. Walter Payton tried to date rape my mom in 1980. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, if your mom was with Walter Payton in 1980, she must have been doing something right. So I don't know what she's complaining about. That dude ran the town in 1980. No, okay, I don't make jokes. But what I'm saying is, we always like to retroactively overturn stones in people's lives. Hell, that's the whole point of this quarter 3 segment that we do. Well, Walter Payton died on this day, let me make sure I got the exact time. 1999, it was on this day. But it began before that. The whole situation with Walter Payton and how we watched him die and how we waited for the end to come. It all started, I want to play this. 2 years before that. This is from 2009, okay? This is the day, and I should give you context on this. Make sure I got this all right. Hold on, guys. So Jared Payton is the son of Walter Payton, okay? Jared Payton committed to play football at the University of Miami. He was going down there. He was going to be a running back. Jared Payton had a wonderful national championship. They won a national championship in Miami with Jared Payton. He went into the pros. Yeah, nice little career. He's a professional football player. He's now retired. He ain't his dad, right? His dad is like one of the all-timers. He's a functioning NFL running back for a number of years. So the context that I need to share with you is that this is a press conference, or there was a press conference where Jared Payton announced that he was choosing the University of Miami. Walter Payton was with his son, Jared, at that press conference. After that press conference, a whole bunch of people, mostly sports radio talk show hosts and, columnists and stuff, because we didn't have Twitter. But I promise you, if we had Twitter, it would have blown up on Twitter. After Jared's press conferences saying that he was going to Miami, everybody started talking about, what's wrong with Walter? What's wrong with Walter? And a rumor began. An ugly rumor, as was happening back in this time. I don't know if you remember how it was, but anytime anybody lost weight or anytime anybody looked sick, they had AIDS, and they were obviously gay or a junkie. And we're talking about a time when people would go on the Tonight Show after having lost 20 pounds, and the next day the entire world was talking about how they're going to be dead of AIDS soon. That's just how the world was. So Walter shows up to his son's press conference. He's battling a liver disease. He's battling it privately and has been doing it for quite some time. He shows up at his son's press conference, and everybody's like, we always knew there was something wrong with Walter. We always knew that shiny, clean, all-American perfect guy was bullshit. He's got AIDS. Walter has AIDS. So that was the story for like weeks. Walter Payton has AIDS. Walter Payton has AIDS. He's going to die. They forced this very private man to come forward and have to address the entire Chicago media and basically be like, no, I don't have AIDS, you jerks. Thanks for being nice. Yeah, I'm sick and I'm fucking dying. It was one of the most powerful press conferences. So we're going to watch a little bit of it. I'm going to show you how it was covered, and then we're going to fast forward to Walter's words on it. On this day that Walter Payton passed away.
Is the health of Walter Payton.
His friends, his teammates, fans all call him Sweetness, but there is no sugarcoating the fact that Payton is now facing the challenge of his life. At a news conference today, Walter and his doctor explained that the Bear great has been placed on the waiting list for a liver transplant. Payton had no peer on the playing field, becoming the greatest ground gainer in NFL history. That determination should be an asset in fighting this rare disease. ABC 7's Brad Palmer joins us live with more now. Brad, how's Walter doing?
Actually, he's in pretty good spirits, all told, Linda. He was in good spirits up until the very end of his news conference, at least, and then he regrouped, and he was fine again after that, and his wife, Connie, said that she's very happy for Walter, that he's taking this thing as much in stride as anybody possibly could. The prognosis is good for Walter if he can receive a liver transplant. His doctor says that the average person waiting for a transplant waits 2 years. But someone very close to Walter told me he doesn't have that long. He needs a transplant much sooner. He needs it this year. And I think that reality may have set in with Walter when at the end of his news conference, he was asked if he had a message for the people of Chicago.
To the people that really care about me, to the people that really care about me, just continue to pray. And for those who are going to say what they want to say, may God be with you also.
So a very emotional ending for Walter. That brought an end to the news conference. That's his son, Jarrett, who had a news conference just last week to announce that he's going to the University of Miami to play football. And had Walter Payton not been at Jarrett's news conference, it's unlikely he would have had this news conference today. He probably would have kept his situation a secret. But so many people saw him at that news conference and on the air, saw the fact that he had lost a lot of weight and began to speculate. That is why Walter called this news conference today. He wanted to end the speculation. He wanted everybody to know what his situation was and that he is very optimistic about a full recovery. He says if he does get the transplant, it's 98.9% that he'll be okay. And that's what's in his corner right now. He's going with that statistic. Let's hope he's right. From Carlucci's in Rosemount, where he had the news conference, I'm Brad Palmer, ABC 7 News. Linda?
All right, there you have it. That was powerful stuff, man. I remember watching that. That is. Walter Payton is going to heaven. You better goddamn well believe it. My favorite athlete of all time is not even close. It's not even close. It's like, I do like that though. Whenever people, like my son was years ago, I think we first broached this subject. I mean, my son was shocked when he's like, well, I bet Jordan's your favorite athlete. I'm like, no, you kidding me? It's Walter. Michael Jordan's kind of a jerk. Walter Payton's kind of the opposite. All right, there we go. Walter Payton, dead on this day, year of our Lord, 1991. He's in heaven. Of course he is. Dead on this day in 2015, Fred Thompson. Fred Thompson is just, we're idiots. We're just idiots. Fred Thompson was an actor in Hollywood. He played congressmen and senators and lawyers and judges and people in positions of authority, and most notably administrative types and that kind of thing. Cops, whatever. He was always like an authoritative guy. Dude basically played politicians for like 30 years in movies. And then all of a sudden, he decided I'm going to be a real politician, and people voted for him. Why? Because they'd seen him in movies playing a politician. Fred fucking Thompson. I know. His history goes back in politics. Before he was an actor, he was actually a speechwriter and all that kind of stuff. So he's legit. I just do think it's funny that it's like the dude from all the Tom Clancy movies who plays the hardcore senator, then went on to be an actual hardcore senator. And I'm like, he's an actor. How can you elect an actor to anything? Oh my God. Speaking of, I got to tell you guys this. So the other night, last night, it was after all of the hijinks of Halloween. I watched. There's a new movie out called Reagan. You guys seen this? I think it's Dennis Quaid, who I like. I like Dennis Quaid. I'm like, ooh, Dennis Quaid is playing Reagan, and it's got Penelope Ann Miller. I like Penelope Ann Miller. She plays Nancy Reagan. It's got Kevin Sorbo. I don't know. Okay, so it's a crazy MAGA movie about Reagan, and it's gotten terrible reviews and all this kind of stuff. I want to see it because I like Dennis Quaid. I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in Reagan. So I watched the Dennis Quaid Reagan movie. Oh, it's also got John Voight. John Voight is like the main star of it. Okay, John Voight. Here's the premise of the movie Reagan, which is why, and I only got about halfway through it before I went, okay, I've had enough fun. I don't need to see any more of this. I might go back and watch more of it. I don't know, whatever. It's not real. I mean, it's not history. It's if you love, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with this. These kinds of things have their place and they have their audience. Although Reagan didn't really find an audience. Did really well at the box office. Oh yeah, I jumped on the Wikipedia page just to I'm like, okay, this is so crazy. This movie is so wheels off interesting. And it is interesting. I don't know in a good way, but it is interesting. It's so wheels off interesting that I need to pause it. And now I need to jump onto the Reagan Wikipedia page and see what the fuck is going on here. Cause this is wild. It's not, there's no great artistry there. It's not a great film. Like there's nothing like Spielberg in the opening of, Saving Private Ryan, with really great cinematography and none of that. It's Dennis Quaid. He's doing, if you lived through the Reagan era, you might find the imitation irritating. Like, I think it's kind of irritating. Like, I think he's trying to do it right. It's a bit distracting. It's very, it doesn't tell an actual historical story. It's one of those biopics that are, intentionally done to be overly flattering and almost mythologize the subject. And that's fine. Like I said, those things have happened. But it's so funny because, like I told you, John Voight, the premise of the film is that John Voight plays a Soviet Cold War KGB agent. John Voight, and he is narrating this. He's narrating the story of Ronald Reagan. And why is he narrating the story of Ronald Reagan? Because he had been on to Reagan since his earliest days in film. He noticed this John Voight character who was narrating the film. He noticed back in the 1940s that this random actor was going to do something. So he went to the KGB and he said, we are going to begin to watch this. So that's the premise of the film, Reagan, where it's a KGB agent telling a younger KGB agent about Reagan, who would go on to be Reagan, and how I was with him from the beginning. I knew this great man was. So it's very, even from the standpoint of the Russian handler, it's like the Russian handler, John Voight fucking loves Reagan. Like the way he's talking about him, it's the way I talk about Walter Payton. It's like just kind of weird and obviously never happened. So I had to research that. I'm like, okay, I need to know. Is this real? Is this a real Russian KGB guy that John Voight is playing? No, it's not real. It's a device. It's a plot device. There was no KGB agent who was super, into Reagan and knew exactly what he was trying to do and tried to warn all the other KGB people about how he was coming for the Soviet Union. It was just crazy. Kind of funny, though. Like, if I could see it as being a movie where you could sit around with your friends, drinking, watching it, making fun of it. It would be a good, like, MST3K kind of thing. Because there are so many weird, ham-fisted... Like, it goes out of its way to demonize Dalton Trumbo, who, of course, was... Bryan Cranston played Trumbo in a film a couple of years ago. Trumbo was a blacklisted, supposed communist sympathizer who wrote a whole bunch of great Hollywood movies, and then he had to change his name. And anyway, point is this: the movie, like, there's all these ham-fisted things, like, goes out of its way to show a dinner between Ronald Reagan and Dalton Trumbo, where Ronald Reagan is telling this commie what for, and it's like, that never happened. It's not a thing. And then also, here's the other thing I love. There's another scene, Jack Warner, the Warner brothers, Jack Warner, the most powerful man in Hollywood. There is a scene early on where Dutch Reagan is in Hollywood and he's a movie star. There's a scene where he's in Hollywood and Jack Warner, the most powerful man in Hollywood, is chasing Ronald Reagan, at best a D-list movie star. He wasn't Clark Gable, John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart. He wasn't any of these people. Ronald Reagan was, are you ready? You want to know what Ronald Reagan was? Are you ready to elect Dermot Mulroney as president in 40 years? Because that's fucking who Reagan was in Hollywood. He wasn't a great actor. He wasn't an A-list actor. He wasn't a big star. You know who was? His wife, Jane Wyman. Jane Wyman was a big star. Ronald Reagan was not. Ronald Reagan was Dermot Mulroney married to fucking Scarlett Johansson. That's where Reagan came from in Hollywood. He was Tom fucking Arnold. Okay? Anyway, the movie's funny because it really just plays with the facts. Anyway, Jack Warner, the character, the most important guy in Hollywood, is chasing down Dermot Mulroney, Ronald Reagan, chasing him down and begging him to do this thing for me, Dutch. Dutch, you gotta help me out here. I'm like, the real Jack Warner didn't know who the fuck Ronald Reagan was, let alone chasing him across. It's just silly. But fandom has its place. And if you are a fan of Ronald Reagan and you love all that stuff, go ahead, watch the movie. You'll probably enjoy it. Dennis Quaid's a good actor. I like him. John Voight's a good actor. I like John Voight. But it's just silly. It's just silly. It's like they're turning him into a superhero. I will say this about it. They are honest about his movie career. They don't, I mean, aside from that very silly situation with Jack Warner, where Jack Warner's chasing Ronald Reagan down, begging him to help the studio. They didn't need Ronald Reagan for anything. Ronald Reagan wasn't somebody they were working with. They were nice to Ronald Reagan because they wanted access to his wife, Jane Wyman, who was a major A-list star. By the way, Jane Wyman played by Mina Suvari. This film is just chock full of actors who you haven't seen in 20 years, who were stars 20 years ago. Go ahead, watch it. Reagan, go ahead, watch it. See if you can beat my record. I got 42 minutes in. 42 minutes. See if you can beat 42 minutes. It was at 42 minutes where I went, okay, this is just silly. There's no story here. Jeff saw it. Jeff says, Jeff didn't see it. He says, is Voight's accent as horrible as the one he did in Anaconda? I'm not going to malign John Voight's acting skills. I think John Voight's a great actor. No, his accent's fine. I don't remember him in Anaconda. Those were his drug years. Those were his old, I'm getting old, I'm going to do a bunch of drugs. My daughter is way more famous than me. She doesn't talk to me. My life's in a tailspin. John Voight. That was the Anaconda era John Voight. John Voight's an old piss and vinegar old man now who knows what he wants. He's a respected actor. He's a good actor. He's a great actor. You can't take that away. You can't take that shit away from people. Isn't he real political, though? Isn't that one of the reasons people don't like Voight? Like, because he's like super MAGA and all that. It's like, fuck. He's John Voight. He's Mickey Donovan from Ray Donovan. I'm sorry. I love the show Ray Donovan, and I love the character that John Voight plays, Mickey Donovan. And I don't give a shit how he votes. I'm going to enjoy his portrayal of Mickey Donovan. Dennis Quaid, though. Dennis Quaid, I don't know how I think he did in the Reagan movie. Again, if you're a Reagan fan, you're going to love everything about this movie. But if you're just a normal person, you're going to watch it and you're like, that's kind of weird. This movie is really riding Reagan's jock super hard. I don't know. I lived it. I was there. So I didn't recognize the portrayal of Ronald Reagan that we saw. But maybe if you're like 28 and you got your red MAGA hat and you want to really know the history of, this whole thing, maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe that's something for you. I was there. I remember it. I remember, you know what? Not going to get into my takes on Reagan. I've been very upfront about my takes on Reagan, so we're not going to get into it. He crippled my family personally with one of his things, so fuck him. So, you know, Reagan decided that... Anyway, we're going to move on. I don't need to go into my family's personal history and how Reagan decided not to pay my father when my father was murdered and didn't pay off on his benefits. Reagan's a piece of shit. All right. Did that to a whole bunch of veteran families. Just fucking cut them off. Just, nah, it's been 10 years. Nah, that's not what we were promised. We were promised, nah. Conservatives back in the 80s, I promise you, as a veteran family who suffered the brunt of their ill-advised decisions, conservatives in the 1980s were not pro-veteran. They were pro-defense spending. That is very different than being pro-veteran, okay? And then they decided to open up all the mental institutions where all the fucking PTSD, we know it now, back then. They were just crazy people. Yeah, he went to Vietnam, he came back crazy. We emptied out all of those, all the institutions. Reagan did that. We don't need this. We don't need to take care of these people. And then suddenly we had a homeless problem in this country, and we started to look around at the homeless people and noticed that they all had veterans jackets. Why are all the homeless people wearing their fucking army jackets? That's Reagan. Pro-military. We need more money to build more bombs, and we need it. But no, fuck the actual people, though, right? That's a shame when you see a guy with sergeant stripes on his lapel, shaking a coin, begging for... That's what we do. That's what we do. But, you know, don't think about that stuff. Just think about the flag and how awesome we are. Let's keep going here. Let's see. What else do we have here? Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the first three quarters. What do you say we get started one more time? Let's get into all of the hot topics. If you want to support talk radio, this kind of talk radio, I hate the Republicans. I hate the Democrats. I hate people who love both of them. But I do love life, and I love anybody who's got a good attitude about it. I love an optimist. So let's move into quarter four. These are all the hot topics, current events. We got that up there. Please support the show. Have not heard a tip today. That makes me a little bit sad, but that's okay. Let's keep going. First and foremost, let's talk about Israel. We start out each and every show. We are on the precipice, or so we're promised, of World War III starting there. And basically what they're telling us now is what I told you a couple days ago. Ball is in Iran's court. The world is now waiting for Iran to respond, but that's not stopping Israel. Israel has still got a couple of different campaigns going on. They're not only dealing with Iran, they're dealing with Hezbollah in the north there. They're dealing with Gaza. They're dealing with Hamas. They're still fucking with the Houthis. There's a new death toll from a big bombing at a hospital yesterday in central Gaza. 25 is what the number is now. Death toll from Israeli strikes in central Gaza has risen to 25, including 5 children, as more bodies have been recovered. Okay. See the inclusion there? See, this is, sometimes I rant about bad journalism. Sometimes I rant about how, well, I don't want to rant on that right now, but this is nonsense. All right. So here's how this sentence is written. This comes from the Washington Post. Okay. Here's how this was written. The death toll from Israeli strikes in the central Gaza Strip has risen to 25 as more bodies have been recovered. That's the news. The news that they are telling us is that there is a change in the death count. That's the news. The news is the death toll from Israeli strikes in the central Gaza Strip has risen to 25 as more bodies have been recovered. That's the story. That's how the news should be reported. But that's not how they wrote it. See, I left out something in the middle there. They added something in the middle to strike an emotional chord with its reader, which is not what they're supposed to be doing, which is the overwhelming problem with all media. Here's what I just left out, but here's how it actually reads. The death toll from Israeli strikes in the central Gaza Strip has risen to 25, including 5 children, as more bodies have been recovered. The including 5 children is not a part of the news story. It is an emotional device designed to manipulate the person you're trying to inform. Fuck! That's the problem with journalism. We have normalized that kind of thing. The death toll from Israeli strikes in central Gaza Strip has now risen to 25, including 5 children, 5 little bloody babies who won't be coming home to their mama. Have I moved you emotionally yet? It's not your job. Your job is to inform me that the death toll has changed. Moving on. Spanish floods. The floods are really bad in Spain. Now, the only reason that I know that the floods are really bad in Spain, because I don't see this covered a lot in American news, but I tell you how when I turn my TV on, for some reason, the default channel is Sky News, which is British news. And they are all over the Spanish flood stories, man. More deaths, big death numbers here. See, this happened like out of nowhere. It's a freak storm. I know storms, places flood. These places don't usually flood. That's why they're like, this is weird. And it came out of nowhere. They had like 1.5 feet of rainfall in a 3-hour period. The damage from the... Oh, hold on. The damage from the storm recalled the aftermath of a tsunami, with survivors left to pick up the pieces as they mourn loved ones lost in Spain's deadliest natural disaster in history. I mean, it's not even being covered here, but Jesus, man, the pictures that we're seeing, the videos, absolute devastation here. Check this out. Let me show you this. And I guess it's hard. Because we don't know what it looked like before, right? Like whenever you see the aftermath of something, you're like, well, that just looks like undeveloped beachfront property. The problem was it was developed like 5 hours ago, and now it's... So here, let's look at this. This is just amazing. I don't know if you can see this here. Hold on. We're not sharing it. Sorry, hold on. Show me the devastation. All right, here, look at this. This is the one right here. Look at this. All right. That's not wetlands. That's actually a suburb that is now gone. Let's keep watching these. Here we go. Valencia, Spain. See if they get us any other crazy video. See, I don't know. Like, I'm looking at that. I'm like, did that used to be a connected bridge, or there you have it. There you go. Big problems in Spain. Keep a good thought for the fine folks of Spain as they deal with never before seen freak floods that have washed out an entire community. Valencia, Spain. Big news. Okay, here's the big news. This is what I woke up to. I woke up today here in America, popped on the TV after it, of course, defaulted to Sky News. Then I put it to American news, and oh my God, they are screaming and they are yelling. Oh my God, did you hear? Did you hear? Donald Trump said he's going to shoot Liz Cheney in the face. Donald Trump's going to shoot Liz Cheney. Donald Trump just said. Headlines are all screaming. We just went through a little bit of bullshit journalism, right? Where I told you about how they tried to emotionally manipulate you by adding 5 kids died. Well, they're doing the same thing here. Except this is wildly disingenuous. Donald Trump did not say that Liz Cheney needs to be assassinated. Okay, but if you look all around the news today, you're going to see headlines that say, Trump calls for Cheney to be shot. Trump calls for... You're going to see all of this bullshit. And you know I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not a MAGA guy. I'm just a normal guy. It's bullshit. He didn't... Let's see what he said. And then let's talk about what's being reported. Because people are in an uproar. Oh, my God. Donald Trump, I heard today that he just openly said that he's going to shoot and execute Liz Cheney as soon as he becomes president. That's what he said. We should print it. Tweet that. Retweet that. Let's make sure that everybody thinks that that's what was said. Donald Trump said that Liz Cheney is going to be arrested. She's going to have a gun pointed and she's going to be executed. Crimes against the state. Trump said that. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't say anything even close to that. I speak Trump, okay? It's been, since 2016? I speak Trump. I think most normal people speak Trump. There are still, the crazies who overreact to everything like it's the first time they heard him say something shocking. It's like, what? You talking about Trump? Did you hear what he said? I don't need to hear what he said. I'm pretty sure it's crazy. Oh, no. He said that he was... So here, let's watch this. This is what people are overreacting to. Is this with Tucker Carlson? Tucker Carlson's trending too. We got a crazy Tucker Carlson story. Yeah, apparently this is him sitting with Tucker Carlson. This guy. Has Tucker Carlson got cancer or something? Does Tucker Carlson not think he's got time left on this planet? Because he seems to be going full bore into the I'm not credible sort of lane of American discourse. And we'll get to that. We'll get to his latest weird shit. Anyway, this is Trump. Mainstream media will have you believe that this is the moment that Trump said that Liz Cheney was going to be executed if he becomes president.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face.
All right, there you go. That's what he said. Did he? I'm telling you, we all just listened to it. We'll listen to it again. But I need to ask you this question, chat room. Did you just hear him say that he's going to execute Liz Cheney? Or is there context that needs to be understood here in that he is calling her a war hawk? He is describing her as somebody who wants to send your children, my children, into battle to face guns being trained at him. That's what Trump was talking about. He's talking about, let's put her on the front lines. Let's see how much of a war hawk she would be if she was actually risking anything. Because she's not risking dick because her last name is, well, pun intended, Cheney. Okay? That's what Trump was saying. I'm not a Trump defender. But he's not saying, I'm going to arrest Liz Cheney, because that's the way it's being promoted out there. Being promoted that, he's completely gone off today. He's going to arrest Liz Cheney. No, he's not. What he's saying is she is a war hawk. She is pro-military. And he says very deliberately, again, you got to speak Trump, I guess. But he says very deliberately in his Trumpese, let's see how she likes it. He is obviously, unless you're fucking stupid or wildly disingenuous, he is obviously talking about her in a military operation situation. He is not talking about arresting her, putting her up against the wall, and shooting her like she's an IRA member or something. Let's watch one more time. Let's listen to what he says one more time, talking about Liz Cheney, calling her a war hawk. His whole point here is to make Liz Cheney, and people hearing this, make people think that Liz Cheney is a war hawk. And she's a war hawk. She's a war hawk. Dick Cheney's a war hawk. He's right. She likes military intervention. She likes American. But he's not talking about arresting her. And you're being told today on any number of things that's what he said. Let's listen one more time.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. And I don't blame him.
All right, there you go. All right, so Adam says the thinnest of veils. But he's got no morals or ethics. Okay, no buts. No buts. See, this is the problem. Discipline yourself. People are reacting to a lie. People are trying to gin others up to think that Trump today said that he's going to have Liz Cheney killed. That's what people are trying to do. That's duplicitous. Yeah, it's coming from the left. It's coming from, I know Adam to be a liberal-minded individual, a proud Democrat. It's coming from your side, dude. It's coming from your side. And that's a lie. That's a lie, just like all the fucking lies that we hear from Trump and from MAGA. It's a lie. Call out the lie. Trump did not call for Liz Cheney to be executed. He said she's a war hawk, again, interpreting Trumpese. He said she's a war hawk. But let's see how much of a war hawk she would be if she actually had to go to war. That, in a nutshell, is what he was saying. Because she's a Cheney. He leaves a lot out. He's not a great speaker. He's not overly articulate. He's charismatic. That's what he was saying, okay? So let's all calm down on fucking Donald Trump calling for the execution of his political opponents. I mean, and again, if I'm being honest, I don't put it past him. But that's not what he said here. That's not what he said here. It's not it. Stop it. There is enough real things that he says that if you want to go nuts about, go at it. Go, feel free, and I'll agree with you. I won't be in the streets with you because that's stupid. Don't get that involved in politics. But I will. There is shit that he says that is just stupid. This is not one of them. This was just him talking and now being taken out of context, and people are desperate because we're within, 4 or 5 days to the election. All right, let's move on. Let's talk now about Biden. 1 for 1. We'll do 1 for 1. So Joe Biden now, the White House, again, just another bunch of duplicitous fools that think that we're all stupid trying to get by on a technicality. They're all lawyers. There are 2 ways to exist in this world. You can exist in the world the way it really exists, where you can just be a normal person, and when you screw somebody over, you know that you screwed that person over. Or when you're screwed over, you know that you're screwed over, and you carry that, and and you'll be careful for next time. There's that world. And then there's like the lawyer world, where everybody tries to win on a technicality. It's like, I had this with Barney yesterday. Barney, whatever it was that you responded on Twitter yesterday, you said something about, we were talking about driver's licenses and gun ownership, whatever. It's very complicated what we were talking about. But Barney comes back with, yes, but one of them's guaranteed by the Constitution. That's some lawyering bullshit, man. That is not at all what we were talking about. And you know that. He's like, well, that's some lawyering bullshit. White House got into some lawyering bullshit trying to walk back Biden's Trump supporters are garbage. Here's how they're trying to do it. Now, we're going to be just as generous with our interpretation of this as we were with what's happening to Trump today with the whole let's kill this Cheney nonsense. So we're going to be generous here. We're trying to figure this out. So Biden was talking to a bunch of Latinos in a Latino Zoom call, and the subject of Tony Hinchcliffe in the Madison Square Garden rally came up, and Tony Hinchcliffe told the joke, and I'll do it again. Did you guys know that there's an island of garbage floating off the coast of whatever? I think it's called Puerto Rico. There you go. Oh, sorry. Now you got to get him out. There you go. So that's the joke. So Biden now, a couple days later, is on a Zoom call, and he's talking to a bunch of Latinos, and he says, I mean, he totally looked out of it. Do you ever see somebody who can't tell a joke? And not that they can't tell a joke like they don't have the humor gene, but they can't tell a joke because, I don't know, maybe they went to the dentist and their mouth is mud. They just can't do it. Or maybe in the case of Joe Biden, you're 100 and you don't have timing anymore or anything. He did that with the joke. He got like excited. He's like, He's like, and the only garbage that I see, like he got excited. He knew it was a funny line. So terrible. Let's watch that. Let's watch what Biden said. And let's talk about how the White House is kind of walking this one back, okay? Oh, where the fuck is the Biden shit now? Did they take it down? You know what? I'm just going to read it to you. And if we find it, we find it. White House press officials altered the official. That's what this is. Some bullshit lawyering going in here. That's what the story is. I'm sorry. I lost my track. White House press officials have altered the official transcript of a call in which President Joe Biden appeared to take a swipe at supporters of Donald Trump, drawing objections from the federal workers who document such remarks for posterity. This according to 2 U.S. government officials. Okay, so there are people who we employ with our taxpayer dollars who basically take notes on everything that is said. They take notes on all of that stuff. President's meetings, all of that, stenographers. He apparently the stenographer was asked after this Zoom call to alter something that was said. And of course, we now know that what was asked to be altered was Biden saying that all Trump supporters are garbage, or that all MAGA is garbage. And again, that's not exactly what he said either. So we'll get into that. They altered it. You can't do that. The whole point of having it is so that we have a record for history. Just because something doesn't seem right in the moment doesn't mean you get to eradicate that from history. It happened, man. That's the whole point. So the person, the stenographer, or whatever they're called, filed a complaint. They're like, I was asked to alter this, and I did, but I'm officially filing a complaint. So what was altered? Biden created an uproar earlier this week with his remarks to Latino activists responding to racist comments at a Trump rally made by comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who, of course, referred to the U.S. island territory of Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage. Biden, according to a transcript prepared by the official White House stenographers, told the Latino group on Tuesday, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it's un-American. All right, that's the stammer is Joe Biden stammer. So let me read it to you again. So this is the quote as it appears from the stenographer. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it's un-American. That's what he said. See how he got excited? His like he couldn't get to the punchline quick enough. The transcript released by the White House press office, however, rendered the quote with an apostrophe. Are you following me? Changes everything. As it was released by the White House, the quote had an apostrophe, reading supporters with an apostrophe rather than supporters without an apostrophe. Do you see what I mean about the lawyering bullshit? Dude, we know what he said. Look, if what you're saying is that he meant to be really drilling down on Tony Hinchcliffe, like that guy as the supporter in question, you can, I guess, make that argument. And we even may buy that argument because we know he's a senile old man. But that ain't what happened. Joe Biden doesn't give a fuck anymore. Biden called MAGA trash. He did. I agree with him. There's a lot of MAGA trash out there. There's a lot of MAGA trash out there. Not all MAGA is trash. There's a lot of MAGA trash out there, man. Seriously. There's also a lot of lefty trash out there. But right now we're talking about, this situation. This idea, and I said it the other day, it's like, are you people hurt? I don't know none of my MAGA friends are hurt that Biden called them garbage. You people for years now have been like, fuck Joe Biden. And you expect him to be like, you people are wonderful. What's the matter with you? And it's the phoniness. It's the lack of authenticity that we all operate 24/7 with these days that has people who aren't offended at all, who are going around tweeting, I can't believe how offended I am that my president would call me garbage. I will never vote for a Democratic. Seeing people like that, fuck you. You're not offended. You inauthentic piece of garbage. Find out who you are. Become a real person. Stop bothering us all with your nonsense of who you think you want the world to perceive you to be. I'm feeling it today, people. I'm feeling it today. So the apostrophe changes everything. The apostrophe in the eyes of the White House makes it Biden criticizing Tony Hinchcliffe and not Biden criticizing all Trump supporters. You can buy that nonsense if you want it. All right, let's keep going. What else do we have here? McDonald's E. coli updates. We've been talking about this all week. Got somebody. Yeah, got somebody. Like I told you, man. McDonald's, boy, there are people that we talked about the 15-year-old girl in Colorado yesterday. Her old kidney shut down. 15-year-old beautiful little girl. She's in a hospital in Colorado because she ate a quarter pounder that had bad onions on it. That's what they say anyway. They've been saying that. They've been sliding that in Every news story that I've read about the McDonald's quarter pounder problem has had at least one sentence where it's like, I think it's probably the onions. It's like every story has included that. And now here we are today. Guess what they're doing? They're going after some poor mom and pop onion grower. That's who they're gonna blame. McDonald's is gonna shift all the blame away from whatever culpability that they have. They're gonna ruin some Taylor Farms onions. It's like a family farm. They sell a bunch of onions to McDonald's in Colorado and all that stuff. And now they're just going to ruin them. Whatever. Some onions went bad. It's how it works in this country, man. It's just how it works. You don't think McDonald's is going to take responsibility? People died. McDonald's ain't going to be like, yeah, we're going to pay off their family for the next 100 years. They ain't going to do that. They're going to bankrupt a small onion grower because they can blame everything on the onion grower. Cool. All right, so that's the latest on the McDonald's E. coli situation. Autism study has been released today. It's a big one, the largest autism study ever done on the subject of autism. And guess what they found out? They found out that autism is nearly tripled just in the last 20 years. Autism diagnosis has tripled in the last 20 years. Oh my God. Why is everybody suddenly contracting autism? We're not suddenly contracting autism. We're just diagnosing it now. Everybody's got autism now. Everything, the autism spectrum have provided doctors and pharmaceutical companies with a very nice and very wide scope of things that they can now diagnose and prescribe medication for. That's why we have more autism now than we ever did in the past. They're just being diagnosed. You know, we used to have weird kids. That's what we used to have, and they were all over the place. Yeah, everybody had weird kids. Hell, if you ran in a pack of like 10 kids in your neighborhood, at least 3 of them were weird kids. I think the 2 of my best friends growing up have autism. They're grown-ass adults. I might have autism. I think I might have it. It's not that people are contracting or developing or whatever. Is that a thing? Do you contract autism? No, you can't. No, you don't contract autism. I was making out with this chick and now I got autism. I don't think that's how it works. More people aren't getting it. It's just that we now have a diagnosis because the pharmaceutical companies demanded that there be some sort of medical diagnosis so that they could pump more pills into people. And that's exactly why now everyone has I'm on the spectrum. Yeah, we're all on the spectrum, baby. That's not a real thing. Now, there is severe autism. That's a very real thing. It's a very real thing. It's a terrible thing for a child to have to deal with. And for the parents and the people who love it, that's a very real thing. And those people need our compassion and our support. But a lot of us are just weird. A lot of us are just weird people. And yeah, there's now a diagnosis. We're on the spectrum. Stop it. I remember when I was younger, autism meant Rain Man. That's what autism was. Now it's like everybody's got autism. It's like, well, I am on the spectrum. What? What does that mean? Anyway, everybody's got autism. Hey, you know who else has got cool stuff? North Korea, apparently. Apparently, North Korea's got cool stuff. North Korea is boasting the largest military rocket ever made. And they said that they can launch it now. Here's the problem. Nobody else believes it works. Everybody else is like, yeah, that's a big rocket bomb you built there, Kim Jong dude. It's not going to work, though. That thing doesn't work. North Korea boasted on Friday that their new intercontinental ballistic missile, it just test launched, is the world's strongest. It's a weird choice of word, isn't it? Strongest. It's the world's strongest missile? What does that mean? Like the most powerful? No, it's not the most powerful. I don't know what that means. Strongest missile. North Korea boasted on Friday that the new intercontinental ballistic missile it just test launched is the world's strongest. A claim seen as pure propaganda after experts assessed it as being too big to be used in a war situation. I don't know what that means. The ICBM launched Thursday flew higher and for longer duration than any other weapon North Korea has tested. But not us. We got shit that's bigger, right? Is that what I can extrapolate from that? But foreign experts say the test failed to show North Korea has mastered some of the last remaining technological hurdles to possess functioning ICBMs. Oh, yes, the Soviet conundrum. This is a very real problem with ICBMs and something that we all know now and we all accept now, but we didn't back in the 70s and in the 80s because that was when the ICBMs were all being pointed at us. The Russians had them and we had them. We were pointing them back at Russia. But see, here's the problem. This was before all the satellites and all the geopositioning and all of the things that we were able to. None of those missiles were going to work, okay? I'm just telling you right now, all of our nuclear missiles that we had in bases in the hills of North Korea, North Carolina, or North Dakota, all of those kinds of hidden weapons, and the same with the Russians, all their big giant rockets that had nukes that were going to deliver, bombs to Washington, D.C. in 20 minutes. None of that shit was ever going to work. We know this now. We know this now because all that technology is years fucking out of date. None of it was going to work. Not ours, not theirs. We didn't have the ability to guide these missiles. We can't even get off the pad. Half of them would have exploded in their silos. So that was what the Cold War was. It was all just one big construct built upon bullshit. That we were afraid that they had these really cool missiles that could be delivered to Washington, New York, Los Angeles in 20 minutes, and they feared that we had the same thing. And the truth of the matter is, we couldn't guarantee any of that. We might have shot a missile in 1984 from Kansas trying to hit Moscow, and we might have taken out Florida. Because we didn't know what the fuck we honestly didn't have. Now we do. Now we're better. Now we can guide these things. We are filled with dirty satellites. We got satellites everywhere. We got everything. We got everything on global positioning. We can do that now. Couldn't do it back then. And yet we all lived in fear that it was inevitable. So North Korea, that's what they mean when they say, yeah, you still haven't mastered the really hard part about ICBMs. Anybody can launch something up in the air that is capable of carrying bombs. Anybody can do that. Can you drive it? Can you direct it and aim it exactly where you need it to go? North Korea doesn't have that. And they are decades away from that technology because of their status as a hermit kingdom. The only way they gain that kind of technology is through illicit and illegal behavior among bad countries like Iran and Russia and China. All the people they're friends with. So who knows? Maybe they will acquire that. But right now, no. But Kim Jong is just showing off his big giant dick, his big giant missile. So that's what's happening in North Korea. We're going to hear about North Korea again. Tucker. Let's talk about this. I told you earlier. What's going on with Tucker? Come on, man. Tucker used to be normal. Tucker used to be a guy who could cash a check from MSNBC. Tucker used to be on MSNBC. Oh, do you guys remember Liberal Tucker? I don't think you do. I mean, he was a little bit more moderate than a lot of the crazy far lefties on MSNBC. But Liberal Tucker was a thing. His little bow tie. That used to be his bit. He was on MSNBC. Tucker's gone nuts, man. Tucker is just gone completely down the well. Tucker Carlson is now claiming with a straight face to a paying audience. They're paying. People are paying. He's got to know something. Yeah, he didn't get to be the heir of the Swanson frozen food dynasty, but being a big dope. No, he knows something. Tucker Carlson is now claiming that he was possessed by a demon spirit while he slept, and the demon spirit brutalized him, leaving him with injuries and noticeable scars that he still possesses to this day. Tucker Carlson said that. Think I'm crazy? Let's watch. Hold on. Actually, I'll read you the story, and then, I don't know, is there a video here? Tucker Carlson, I was mauled by a demon. Tucker Carlson said that he was physically mauled by a demon a year and a half ago that left him bleeding with still visible scars on his body from claw marks. This was in a clip posted by the Christianites. I don't know, some YouTube channel, the Christianites, on Thursday. Asked by his interlocutor, what is an interlocutor? What the fuck? That's weird. Asked by somebody, John Hears, if he thought the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about God. So that was the question posed to Tucker Carlson. Is the presence of evil, do you feel that is kickstarting people to wonder about God? To which Carlson answered, that's what happened to me. I had a direct experience with it, said Carlson. And then the interviewer said, in the milieu of journalism, like he's trying to help him out here. Like, what do you say? Like, what do you mean? You're being metaphoric here? Do you mean you had a direct experience with this kind of thing in the milieu of journalism? Is that what you're talking about, Tucker? Tucker says, no, not in it, not in the abstract, not metaphorically, not in the milieu of journalism. Tucker Carlson said, in my bed at night, I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs. I was mauled. I was injured. Come on, Tucker Carlson. You used to be semi-normal. To which the journalist interviewing Tucker Carlson says, in a spiritual attack by demons, he says. Yeah, Tucker says, by a demon or by something unseen that left claw marks on my sides. Now, it looks here like we got some video. I don't know. I haven't seen this yet. Let's see. What is this? Okay, yeah, no, this is straight up video. Okay, let's see. Tucker Carlson talking about how a guy who you guys fucking listened to do what you thought was news. Not you guys. I'm just talking about people in general. I don't know what you guys watch. But people watch for like real news. Like, I need to be informed about what's happening in the world. And this young man looks very serious. And you took your fucking news from this guy. And now he's going around going, yeah, a year and a half ago, a demon came into my bed and raped me while my wife and dogs. The company you keep, people, isn't just the people you hang around with. It's the people you allow to influence you. This fucking guy, this is crazy. And it makes me angry. Here we go.
The presence of evil is kickstarted.
Oh, wait, hold on. No, that goes straight from there. All right, here we go. So here is Tucker Carlson talking to some Christian guy about how Tucker Carlson has a demon that came into his bedroom at night.
Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh, yeah. I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism or just?
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left.
Is that right?
Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. A year and a half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms.
All right, you get enough of it. You get enough of it. You understand there's not going to be some big reveal at the end where he goes, I'm just kidding. No, he's serious. That's a person some of you took news from, took real important information about stuff. Someone who you allowed to influence you. You wonder why everybody's so fucking... Nobody can tell a con man. I could always tell that Tucker Carlson was bullshit. Swanson, fucking frozen food, silver spoon, private school, elitist bullshit. And you people are like, no, he's one of us. Tucker, let's make him president. People talk about making that motherfucker president in 4 years. He's with a straight face talking about how he was raped by a fucking demon and his wife didn't even wake up. What is wrong with us? Collectively. What is wrong with us collectively? Individually, we're pretty good. Individually, I think we're okay. Just when we get in this collective group think where we're all going, Tucker Carlson is the best. I pay $10 a month for Tucker Carlson. The dude makes millions of fucking. Look, why? I'll tell you what. I might, if we don't, this is pledge week. If we don't make it, I swear to God, we don't make it, I am going to reinvent this motherfucker, and I'm going to be so over the top insane. And I'm telling you, people, that nothing I will say is true, but I will tell you in a way that you think he must really believe this. Let's see how many fucking morons I can get. Because I'm tired of trying to do you people, you folks, the people we get here every day in the chat room. Thank God for you people. You're the normal people who hang out, talk. We can fuck with each other about stuff. Nobody's a big pussy. It's everybody else going nuts. Fucking, I can't believe that people take Tucker Carlson seriously. And again, had every advantage. Had everything from the very beginning. Tucker Carlson is a billionaire family. Swanson Frozen Foods, right? His little prep school, when he used to show up with his shaggy hair and his bow tie and his little prep school jacket. I'm Tucker Carlson. He's not one of us. He's one of the fucking puppet masters, and he is fucking fooling all of you. You know what he did there? You know what that was? That's a YouTube channel for a very bizarre, close-knit group of weirdo Christians. I'm sure they got a following. Probably thousands and thousands of people follow that particular group, but it doesn't spread much outside of people who think that way. So Tucker Carlson, knowing that that's the audience that this was being made for, knew exactly what that audience wanted. And you know what that audience wants? Him to be like, yeah, fucking demons and monsters and Jesus saved me. He doesn't give a shit about his own personal credibility as an actual brand. He just knows that in this moment on this video, the people who subscribe to this channel are fucking idiots. And this is the shit that they're going to believe. So this is the shit that I'm going to give them. He doesn't even care, really, that it would get out. Like it got out today. Somebody released that video, and now mainstream media is like, Tucker Carlson's talking about being raped by a demon. I don't know if he cares. I don't. To be willing to go on that thing and pander to those people by making up this insane story tells me that you have no credibility. You don't think that your honor, your personal honor or credibility matter in the least. Because you're like, oh, fuck these people. I'm going to tell these people a fucking crazy story and they're going to love it. But that's who that guy has always been. How do you go from MSNBC to Fox? Fuckers, God damn it, people. I mean, he doesn't believe anything other than how do I make the most money and manipulate the most stupid people? Because that's what he thinks of you. That's what all of these people, these obvious con men, these obvious manipulators, all of these people who you love so much, they all fucking have zero respect for you. Trump wouldn't want MAGA in the lobby of his hotels. The average MAGA person is like the kind of person whose security would move away back when Trump actually, thought that his brand meant elite. But no, fucking all of these people. And the left is the same way. You got to say the same bullshit about Gavin Newsom. But I don't want to because we're talking about Tucker Carlson. And I feel I'm so tired of feeling like I've got to make everything equal. Like if I'm saying shit against somebody who is aligned with the right, now I got to make it equal and I got to say something about somebody who's aligned with the left. I'm tired of that. They're all fucked up. It's just that for some reason, the more fun shit recently comes from the right. There ain't nobody on the left talking about how they were raped by a demon in their bed. There ain't nobody. Look, you show me the piece of video where Jon Stewart is doing that, okay? But it's just not out there. It's fucking people manipulating the ignorant or the scared or the frightened or the simple or whatever you want. But that's Tucker Carlson's bread and butter, manipulating the simple. And he's a rich elitist. His family's probably been doing this shit. This is just how it works. It's all a puppet game. Mike D says he was attacked once in bed. Then I realized I was just tangled up in my comforter. Been there, my friend. Been there. What do you think? Let's take that story that Tucker Carlson just did. the first thing that I think we need to ask ourselves, do we believe that Tucker believes what he's saying? And that could go to, like, do we believe, do we think Tucker, because obviously in my rant, I'm like, he's lying, he's making it up, but I don't know. Maybe he really does believe that happened to him, okay? So if we're going to go down that path, all right, I'm going to believe you. I'm going to believe that you truly think that a demon raped you while you slept, left scars and all kinds of things that you still have that you can show us, but he didn't for some reason. For some reason, I don't know why that guy with the camera didn't go, hey, why don't you show us some of those claws? We didn't see that, but we'll move on. So, okay. So if you're not lying, I mean, if you're a liar, you're a piece of shit, and that's just, ugh, fuck, you're so fucking shameless. But maybe it's not that. Maybe he does believe that he was raped in his bed by a demon. Well, that's mental illness. That's all. That can be explained away. We should get him some help. It's a sign that you need help. That you believe that while you slept in your bed with your wife and your dogs and nobody else, if you believe that there was some disembodied spirit that came into you and began to brutalize you and caused you harm, frightened you, if you believe that, Tucker, well, then I say you're mentally ill. That sounds like a mental illness, and then you should probably... But then again, there's a whole bunch of other people who will say that that's not a mental illness. That is a demon, and it's just Jesus' way of telling you that he loves you. So I don't know what the fuck is going on with... All I know is that I don't believe it's authentic, okay? I don't believe that there are demons. And I don't think that Tucker Carlson, educated and raised in the best private schools Europe has to offer. Yeah, European private schools. That's where he went. I don't think that he was educated to, believe in the stupid shit. I think that he's smart. I think that he's well educated. So yeah, I think he's lying. I think he's lying deliberately to manipulate people who believe that it's possible angels and demons can come to your bed at night. That's what's going on there. Tucker Carlson, people talking about him being president in 4 years. Some of you fuckers will probably vote for him, even after this. See, this is disqualifying to me. This is like nobody who ever says anything like that with a straight face can be president, can be in charge of the nukes. You can't. That's just me, though. Maybe that's not you. Maybe you've got a lower bar for most important person in the world. Let's see here. Here's another one. Boy, you thought I got hot on that story. Let's talk about this one. How about the story of Daniel Penny? Do you guys remember Daniel Penny? Daniel Penny is in the news. I want to see which one do we have here. I don't know if we want to use this. Hold on. Yeah, I understand. Hold on. Yeah, okay. This video may be disturbing. Okay, we got that. Here's the warning for you so that you know that the video may be disturbing that we're about to watch. So Daniel Penny is the guy a couple of years ago. Maybe you remember he was riding a New York subway and he put a homeless person in a chokehold and choked him out. And that person died. And there, oh boy, it all got political. It all got very much, the right. They decided that Daniel Penny was their Kyle Rittenhouse of 2023 or whatever. He became their guy. And then, of course, the left, he was a monster. And the person he killed, an absolute angel, who used to perform as Michael Jackson on New York subway station platforms. That's who this monster killed. He did Michael Jackson impersonations. Everybody loved him. So here's what happened. So here's how it was reported to us. So somebody was on a New York subway train. I can't think of the guy's name. We'll get the name here in a second. The victim. It's unfortunate. So the victim was on a subway train, a car, screaming about, give me money. Give me all your money. I need to eat. I'm going to take money. I'm going to hurt all of you. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to kill. He was making threats. Didn't touch anybody. He didn't touch anybody. He was just, people sitting there. Anybody who's used public transportation in a big city, I have, you sit there on your thing and you don't fucking make eye contact with anybody because there's going to be some weirdos. But you do this every day knowing that 99 people out of 100 are going to be normal and that there's just going to be one dude who's a problem. So he was the dude who was the problem. And everybody else on the car, they're just minding their own business. He's the problem. He's skulking about. I think that, an informed person might look at him and go, well, he's having an episode. He is absolutely having a medical episode here. We need some people with a straight jacket and a rubber room handy to come get this guy. That's what was happening. Daniel Penny, who was a college student, former Marine, 4 years in the Marine Corps. He's now going to college. He was on his way from class to a training session. He's an MMA training guy. And he heard this guy start to threaten a woman. And he got up behind him and he put him in a chokehold, choked him out, and he died. Now, of course, the argument is, I don't know what the argument is. A life was lost, a person died. Is the person who choked the homeless man who was having an episode, is he a murderer? Or was he acting as a citizen on behalf of other citizens who were being threatened? And we know he was being threatened. We have video. We don't have video of what led up to the chokehold, but we do have enough video of everybody else who was on that car and what they said happened. So we know. This wasn't just, he wasn't an angel. He wasn't like, I'm going to do some Michael Jackson moonwalking now, and if you want to throw a couple of bucks in my hat, that'd be great. That's not what was going on here. He was screaming at people. He was getting in people's faces. He was threatening people, and this military guy, Penny, had enough and decided to put him to sleep. Was his intent to kill him? No, because I can put people to sleep. I mean, anybody with basic jiu-jitsu knows how to do this hold. You don't intend to kill the person. You cut the blood flow to their brain off long enough for them to go dark. And then you lay them down on the ground and then the blood flow returns and they come back and they don't know what happened. And then they have a really bad headache for a couple of hours. That's the thing nobody talks about. After you get put out, after you get choked out, you're going to have a really bad headache. At least I have. I've been choked out 3 times. Not in real fights, but just like in training and stuff. And you got to get choked out once. Like when you go to a certain level of jujitsu, at least the guy I was working with, he's like, yeah, no, you got to be choked out. You have to be choked out so that you know what you're doing to other people. And you come back, the blood returns, it goes from black to, light again. And you don't know where you are for a minute and you're a little bit hazy, but it all comes back and you're all okay. And then an hour later, your head is going to hurt like fucking crazy because it's from the blood going up and down anyway. That's what the doctor said. So he chokes the dude out and the dude dies. So here's the story. Let's watch this video because Daniel Penny's going to court now. It's time for the trial of Daniel Penny. Is he a murderer? Does he deserve to go to jail for what happened here? Let's watch. Here we go.
Heroism or vigilantism? The video shows 3 strap hangers subduing the 30-year-old man after witness Juan Alberto Vasquez says he got on the northbound F train and began acting aggressively, threatening riders. Law enforcement sources with knowledge of the case confirm his account, saying according to a witness, the man began shouting, quote, "I want food. I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm ready to go back to jail, and I'll hurt anyone on this train."
The man got on the subway car and began to say a somewhat aggressive speech, saying that he was hungry, he was thirsty, and he didn't care about anything. He didn't care about going to jail, that he didn't care that he gets a big life sentence, and it doesn't matter if he died.
Vasquez says he was scared and believes others on the train were too. That's when he says a 24-year-old rider came up behind the man and put him in a chokehold, holding him there on the ground. 2 other men standing over them also helped subdue the man.
If there was fear, the people who were bluish or who were there, where he separated everything, moved from their place. I stayed sitting in my place because it was a little further away. But obviously those moments, well, one thinks fear, one thinks he may be armed.
He says that chokehold lasted about 15 minutes, even with the train stopped at one point at the Broadway Lafayette station and the doors open.
Well, most of the people left. If they open the door, the chain separates and it leaves. Almost all the people just stayed. The ones who were there on the floor fighting, a couple who was standing in front of them stayed.
Vasquez says no one thought the man would die, even after he went limp. EMS arrived and performed CPR, but he could not be revived.
I think no one thought that he was in a risky situation because he was defending himself all the time. All the time he moved. He tried to remove his arm, and then when they had it on his side, he kept kicking. So we thought that he's defending himself.
The 24-year-old who delivered the chokehold was questioned and released by police. He is not facing any charges at this point. The medical examiner has yet to determine a cause of death. Former NYPD Chief of Department Terry Monahan.
The way the detectives have to look at this case is what would a reasonable person do and what would a reasonable person be expected to do.
All right, so there we have it. That's the first video from this case. Again, the trial of Daniel Penny is beginning in New York City. That was from the time of the actual incident. And as the person noted there, no charges had been filed at that time. We, of course, come to know that charges were filed against Daniel Penny, and that's why we're looking at a court situation now. So let's watch a more recent one. Let's see what the latest is on that. So that's how it was covered back when it originally happened. So we have the facts. I mean, that's from when it happened, before all the politics and all that shit got involved and people were forced to, stake a decision based on who they vote for. A guy was having an episode. He was freaking out on the train and somebody put him down. They put him in a chokehold. They put him down and held him down. And one of the things that I thought was troubling, though, from the initial report was how they talked that he remained in that chokehold for like 15 minutes. That you can't do that. You got to let the blood flow back again or else you will die. That is how you die. The brain will die without blood flow. You can't do that, right? It's a real problem. Comas and all kinds of shit. So, but then the other person, the witness, was saying that the victim, as we'll call him, was fighting back. So that's why the chokehold was kept there. Anyway, okay, so here, let's do this one now. This is going to be, is this the more recent one? Yeah, okay, so I think this is the more recent one. Let's see what this is. Different video, too. All right, here we go.
Daniel Penny, the man who put Jordan Neely in a deadly chokehold on a New York City subway, arrived with his attorney at a Manhattan police precinct to turn himself in on Friday. He's expected in court later today.
He did so voluntarily and with the sort of dignity and integrity that is characteristic of his history of service to this grateful nation.
The 24-year-old Marine being charged with manslaughter in the second degree with a maximum penalty of 15 years, according to prosecutors.
Manslaughter is the reckless killing of another individual with no intent.
Penny's surrender to police comes after days of protests around New York. Activists had been demanding Penny's arrest, some calling Neely's death a, quote, lynching. Mayor Eric Adams calling the death a tragedy.
One thing we can say for sure, Jordan Neely did not deserve to die.
Penny was seen on a viral video from May 1st restraining Neely in a chokehold for at least 3 minutes as other passengers hold Neely down. The 30-year-old was later pronounced dead at the hospital. The medical examiner ruled the death a homicide. Neely was known to impersonate Michael Jackson on trains and in stations, but since 2007, according to his family, he had been dealing with mental health issues and homelessness. Police say he was harassing the train's passengers and making threats, but was not physically violent.
It needs to be made clear that there are consequences when a civilian takes a situation into their own hands and causes a fatality.
Penny's attorneys say the Marine vet acted to protect himself, and the facts will come out in court. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
All right, there you have it. So, one, he wasn't acting to protect himself. He wasn't. He wasn't in any danger. He came up from behind the guy. Put him in a chokehold, took him down to the ground. He wasn't threatened. He was being a hero. A lot of us have that in us. A lot of us, wait, I didn't mean to say it like that. A lot of us have that thing, that fantasy thing in us where we're like, okay, do I have an opportunity to be the hero here? How would I react in this situation? He saw a situation. Guy was acting obnoxious. The guy was having a mental episode, Jordan Neely. He's acting obnoxious. And I think maybe a guy like, what's his name? It's Jordan Neely and Daniel. Hold on. Daniel Penny. Jordan Neely is the victim. Daniel Penny is who's on trial. Daniel Penny was, he's a kid. He's a dumb kid. He misread the situation. Maybe, I agree with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. I don't know much about him, but it's probably the only thing I agree with him on. The only thing that we do know for sure is that Jordan Neely didn't need to die. He didn't need to die, but he did. That's a fact. That's what happened. So when somebody dies in our civil system of justice, we are, as I say, a nice, modern, civilized society. Someone has to be held accountable, or at the very least, there has to be some accounting for what happened. I like the manslaughter charge. I think that Daniel Penny should be charged with manslaughter. They explained right there in that last story that we saw what manslaughter is. Manslaughter is the reckless endangerment of another that results in murder without intent. He didn't intend to kill him. He didn't want to murder. He wasn't like, I need $10 and I'm going to murder that person for $10. That's not what happened here. This was just a real life situation where stuff got out of control. We had multiple moving parts here. We've got somebody who our social safety net system failed in Jordan Neely, who's having a mental issue there, right there on the bus, right there on the train. They're freaking out. As a civilized society, we have failed him because he's obviously a fuck up with a serious problem that we don't have under control. May I direct your attention back to my conversation about the Reagan movie, where Reagan let all the people out of the institutions because we don't need to take care of the mentally. Well, so he should be somewhere. Our crazy people, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with our crazy people? Fact. Our society is filled with people with mental problems. Fact. Every single day, one of these people with a mental problem does something like what Jordan Neely did on a subway platform. I'm going to fuck you all up if I don't get food. Well, that's a terrible thing for someone to say, right? Yes, of course it is. And it would be a terrible thing for someone to say if they were normal. But he's not normal. He's a mental fucking fuck up. He's got a problem. And now it is incumbent upon us to show compassion because we're humans. It's not just, hey, this guy's acting weird. I don't like people acting weird. I'm going to put him out, which is what happened. I think this dude, he's fucking Marine, 24-year-old. He's into MMA. He's not a well-rounded dude. He's like, look at this fucking weirdo. I'm going to put this motherfucker. Hey, he just threatened that woman. I'm going to put him fucking down. And that's what he did. And the dude ended up dead. Daniel Penny is not a murderer. He's not a bad guy. He's a normal dude who was on the train and saw somebody acting up, and he just handled it. Manslaughter is an incredible charge. I'm glad that the charge of manslaughter exists for these kinds of situations because Daniel Penny is not a murderer. Daniel Penny is, again, like I said, just a guy who tried to be a hero in a moment. He thought his intentions through his frame of reference were all good. He was trying to be the good guy. Now, it wasn't really in the best interest of our victim. But I don't know. These things are complicated. You have to talk about them this way. You have to talk about, this isn't just a political right or wrong. Well, I support Donald Trump, so I support Penny. No, fuck you. Stop it. Don't be dumb. Use your brain. Think about this. And then utilize, tools of compassion. Like the best tool of compassion when you're thinking about these kinds of situations is just, look, fucking go to the Bible for it, right? Walk a mile in his shoes. Just at the very least, try and imagine being that person who had this mental episode, who's never had any fucking help. The world is just a fucking mystery to them. It's spinning around. They're acting a fool on a train and now they're dead. Just for a moment, try to imagine how difficult your life is and some of the things that you've been through. And then just think about what that person was going. Just have a little compassion. Don't just be like, fucking street rat, put him down, choked him out. Now he's dead, motherfucker. A lot of people like see this story in that way. That ain't cool, man. You gotta just, here's how you see this story. I am upset at the idea that Daniel Penny could be facing 15 years in prison. I got to be honest. I'm upset that he's facing any time in prison. I don't know that we need to put a person in prison who isn't a real threat. Okay, Daniel Penny is not a threat on the street. Daniel Penny is not going to do this 3 more times in the next 2 years. It's not going to be like, Jesus, Daniel Penny choked another guy out on the subway. He's not a rapist who broke into 15 nurses' apartments, right? That's not what this is. So we don't need to put him in jail. But there does have to be an accounting, a civil accounting of this incident. And we have to equally look at how the person accused is being treated, and certainly how the victim has been treated. Although, if we're being honest, we don't need to worry about the victim. They're dead. They're dead. But there is another life here. So are we going to just completely ruin Daniel Penny's life, put him in prison for 15 years, make him a pariah, make him unemployable, destroy any chance of him having a life, a family, a love, whatever? No! So anyway, complicated story here. Daniel Penny going on trial in New York for the subway manslaughter of fellow, what was his name? No, why can't I think his name? Why can't I think of the victim's name? I'm just as bad as everybody else. Anyway, all right, there you have it. Anyway, trial will be following it. We'll see how it goes. Convict him of manslaughter, because again, we need to have accounting. Convict him of manslaughter, no jail, some community service. It's a fucked up situation, but he is not a murderer. All right. Let's see here. Oh, Brat, B-R-A-T. I don't even know what this is. This is some chick word, right? Isn't this like some club chick word? I don't know what Brat is. It's a song, Charlie XCS song, something like that. I don't know what that is, whatever. Anyway, it's been added to the dictionary. Now it actually is a word. And not only that, it is the word of 2024. Brat. Brat. In the context as used by Charlie XCS. And I don't know what that context is, but go ahead, look it up. It's going to be in dictionaries from now on. Brat. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, hey, here, yeah, we can watch this. Actually, is there video here? Did we get video of this? Is there video? So anybody a Radiohead fan? Tom York is out there. He's on tour. Tom York is on tour. He's, of course, the lead singer of Radiohead. He's an interesting looking dude. He's got like does he have a lazy eye? I mean, critical. It's not like, people like, you're ugly, no one will ever love you. He's a rock star. He's Tom York from Radiohead. I'm sure he's got girls who have overlooked the lazy eye. But he's got a lazy eye, right? The lead singer from Radiohead. It's like, Anyway, Tom York is on tour. He was down there in Australia doing solo stuff, which is, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's, do I want to see solo Tom York? I don't know what that could be. But anyway, he's on tour. He's down there in Australia, solo Tom York, no Radiohead. And apparently a pro-Palestinian protester decided that they were going to make a stink because their issue of being anti-Israeli, their issue is way more important than the 18,000 people who showed up at this concert. Their issue to ruin the show for everybody else. It's way more important for them to get their singular issue of the Palestinian and Israeli situation. So that's what happened. One of those people showed up at a Tom York concert and basically made the show look, let's just let Tom York of Radiohead show you how he handled it. Here he is once again. This is everybody. Everybody at a concert had to be inconvenienced because of one person. Here's Tom York, Radiohead, dealing with a pro-Palestinian heckler.
Come up here and say that right here. Come on.
During a solo performance in Melbourne, Australia, Radiohead singer Tom York walked off stage after being heckled by a pro-Palestinian protester.
Come up here and say that right here. Come on. Come up on the stage and say what you want to say. Don't stand there like a coward. Come here and say it.
Radiohead has previously come under scrutiny for the band's decision to perform in Tel Aviv in 2017.
You want to piss on everybody's night? Come on.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, you do. See you later then.
York later returned to the stage to perform the 1997 hit Karma Police, according to social media reports.
All right, there you have it. Tom York and Radiohead not taking it. No fucks to give from Tom York. Al says, I'm a Radiohead fan. People think they're overrated. I believe he's super talented. He's fucking super talented. That is a super talented band. That band, do people think they're overrated? Do people think Radiohead is overrated? I don't know. That's not something. Maybe you're too close to it, Al. Maybe because you're such a fan of them that you feel every criticism, you take it all personally. I don't think that people think Radiohead is overrated. I think a lot of people don't know who Radiohead is. I think they have no idea. But I think whenever you meet somebody who knows who Radiohead is, I think that they rate them appropriately. Critically acclaimed darling of a very specific genre. I love Radiohead. I think Creep is one of the most important songs ever written. And what's interesting to me about the song Creep is that when the song Creep by Radiohead was first released, I was working at a radio station and I was working at an alternative radio station, and we had that song come across us, Q101, and we had to decide whether or not we were going to start to play it. So I remember sitting in the meeting, and I remember this is before anybody had heard Creep. This was before that song was a hit. But I remember sitting there with the music director and the team there, and I said, this one seems like a novelty. You know, Creep, because I'm a creep. And I'm like, this song sounds like a novelty song. I had absolutely no belief that song was anything more than an incredibly interesting guitar riff, a really big crunchy guitar. I just didn't have much. I thought it was basically a novelty, and we played it and it turned out to be a big hit, and then Radiohead became Radiohead. And I was like, guess it wasn't a novelty. I guess they're just good. No, I love Radiohead. Oh, also, Al, I think it was you. I wanted to double back on something that I saw in the chat room earlier today. Al, I think it was when I was riffing on Dale Carnegie and what I believe to be his mass production of cheat sheets on how to manipulate people. I think it was Al. I think Al said that you had taken a number of Carnegie courses and that you liked them and that you didn't think that they were bad. I think I need to be clear, and it's been bothering me, obviously, because this was like 2 hours ago, and I'm like, I need to make that clear. Not everyone. If you're a good person, and Al, I believe you're a good person. If you're a good person, you can take those tips and not do bad things with them. My complaint against the Dale Carnegie system is I feel like it has empowered the absolute worst among us. And I suppose I was unfair of me to say that there are plenty of people who did study the Carnegie system and they did have successful lives and they are not bad people. But there are also a lot of bad people who, learned these tricks and they went on to be even worse people. So just as long as we're clear, I didn't want Al to think that I thought less of them because of that. Now, if you are a good person, there are things to be learned, tips to be killed, all that stuff. If you're a good person, it's all about how you process the information that we get. If you're a piece of shit and you get some good information but you're a piece of shit, you're going to do the kinds of things a piece of shit would do with that good information, That's all I guess what I mean. All right, let's keep going here. So Radiohead, we talked about this. All right, this will be the last one here for a Friday. All right, we're gonna close up shop. Got a big meeting here at the E Gallery in a couple hours. I got to get ready for. Bob Costas has retired. Bob Costas. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think that I have thought about Bob Costas in 10 years. Bob Costas to me is something from the 90s. You know? It's like Pontiac Fieros and Vanilla Ice. Bob Costas is something from the 90s. So when he popped up in the last week with his duties with the World Series and he began to go viral, and he went viral immediately. Bob Costas hadn't been around in a while. He ain't been front and center in a while. He went viral. And it was, let's beat the fuck out of Bob Costas for like a week on Twitter. It was everybody. This guy sucks. Who the fuck is this guy? He's the worst play-by-play. I never want to hear this guy again. You know, I always complain about this. I always point out how apparently Joe Buck is the worst person to ever do play-by-play. And Chris Collinsworth, he's the worst too. Al Michaels, nobody ever been worse than Al Michaels. Everybody hates everybody. But when I saw this Bob Costas stuff happening, I just immediately thought, these are 30-year-olds. These are 30-year-olds who have no fucking idea who this guy is. They're not used to his style. Maybe he's dated. I don't know. I didn't notice anything particularly bad about Bob Costas and his World Series coverage because I'd been watching Bob Costas since the early 1980s. Because I know who Bob Costas is, and he's, in my mind, he's a dude who does that stuff. And he does it well, and he does it good, and I don't have to really overthink it. What? What are you making fun? That's Bob Costas. You're making fun of that guy's Bob Costas. You've never heard Bob Costas? That was kind of like my whole reaction to the Bob Costas thing. I'm like, what? You fucking talking about Bob Costas? What are you, an idiot? The guy's a goddamn Mount Rushmore of American sports broadcasters in the last 50. The fuck is wrong with you? Some 17-year-old put the fucking Madden game down long enough to decide that they don't like Bob Costas. I'm like, okay. So anyway, Bob Costas, after dipping his toe back in the pool with the World Series coverage last week, he announced yesterday that he was going to be retiring now full-time from all media because Bob don't need your bullshit. Bob Costas don't need your nonsense. Bunch of idiots on Twitter going, Bob Costas sucks. Bob Costas is like, fuck you. Legendary sportscaster Bob Costas has now officially retired from Major League Baseball play-by-play duties after more than 4 decades in the booth. Costas, 72, confirmed the decision with The Athletic. He says he will formally announce the news at a later date. According to the report, the decision was made prior to this past Major League Baseball season. It is also the final season of his contract. Costas called his first MLB game in 1980 on NBC, where he became a household name over the course of 39 years. Who was it? It was Costas and was it Joe Garagiola? Is that a team that I remember? Young Bob Costas and old Joe Garagiola. Saturday afternoon, NBC, Major League Baseball game of the week. That was always... Costas called his first MLB game in 1980 on NBC, where he became a household name over the course of 39 years with the network. He left NBC in 2019, joining CNN and TBS, both properties of Warner Brothers Discovery. He's also served as a Major League Baseball Network lead play-by-play announcer since the network began. Prior to his departure at NBC, Costas was the host of the Olympics from 88 to 2016. That role is now occupied by Mike Tirico. Didn't even notice. Oh, my God. You're absolutely right. Like if it's 1988 or whatever, and I'm watching the Olympics, I'm watching Bob Costas. Now 2024, I'm watching the Olympics, I'm watching Mike Tirico. I didn't even realize there was a changeover. Costas will continue to serve as a contributing analyst with Major League Baseball Network, but his play-by-play duties will come to an end. Okay. So what is Bob Costas? First of all, Bob Costas is an interesting guy. He's a smart guy. He did a show on NBC late night for like 20 years. Remember that? Where it was just him in a chair with another person. And it was Bob Costas, the sports guy, having like really deep and interesting conversations about all kinds of other subjects that have nothing to do with sports. Turned out Bob Costas can talk about stuff. Turns out Bob Costas isn't a one-trick pony. That was a good show. He was a terrific interviewer. So what's he going to do now? What is Bob Costas going to do now? Although he's sort of presented himself as a bit of a Renaissance man, he does football. He was the original Sunday Night Football guy, right? He was the guy that did Sunday Night Football. Did NBA basketball. I mean, my God, he was the white Bronco chase. When OJ was being chased down the freeways at the same time as an NBA Finals game, it was Bob Costas on TV with the split screen who was doing, I mean, Bob Costas is an icon. Here's what I think Bob Costas should be. Because even though he did all of those things, baseball is his thing. Bob Costas, you know me, I'm an old baseball head. So I listen to a lot of stupid baseball podcasts. So I am very familiar with Bob Costas, the baseball fan. Bob Costas, the baseball mind. Bob Costas, the guy who's been around baseball for 40 years. Here's what I'm pitching for 72-year-old Bob Costas. He should be the new commissioner of baseball. Bob Costas should be the new commissioner of baseball. The Manfred bullshit needs to come to an end. Now, Rob Manfred, I think under his reign as Major League Baseball commissioner, they have instituted some things that I think are incredibly good. I'm telling you, I've been saying it now for a couple of years. The Major League Baseball is dying, but they seem to be going down swinging. Just had a great postseason. But Rob Manfred is not the guy that we need in there for the next player's contract, because that's going to be the contract negotiation to end all contract negotiations. And if you ever thought that there could be an entire baseball season canceled, that's what's coming up with this next owners and players union conversation that's got to be had. I want Bob Costas doing that. I don't want Manfred. There's too much bad. Let's make Bob Costas commissioner of baseball. There you go. That's my thought. I'm not kidding. I think it's next year. I think we got like next year in baseball, and then the next year after that is when the lockout's going to happen, because the players union and the owners are not going to come to an agreement. Salary cap is one of the big issues. Rob Manfred, we need a clean slate. We need Bob Costas. Bring Bob Costas in. Let him do it. All right. Anyway, that's going to do it, guys. I want you to have yourselves a great weekend, okay? I'm going to have a good weekend. I got my boy. Every weekend I got the boy. It's a good weekend, even though I imagine this weekend we're not going to do anything. The last time we hung out, remember I told you we spent the whole weekend. I couldn't even get him to go outside to walk the dog. I'm like, let's go walk the dog. It's gorgeous. And he's just laying in the bed watching football. I'm like, dude, you are watching Northwest Mississippi State taking on Parker College. What are you watching? Seriously, he watches like the most obscure games. Like, what? I've never even heard of Parker College. Oh, they're a real school. They're in Nebraska. Oh, okay. So we're going to do that this weekend. Don't even have anything to watch. I don't have anything to watch. I don't. Again, we got football this weekend. I don't have anything to really watch. But I do have something to tell you to watch. This will be a very good little suggestion for your weekend if you have access. And I've been meaning to talk about this. I've been meaning to talk about this for a week, because it happened. I ended it last week. I haven't talked about the show. You know me, when a show debuts, I don't like to watch scheduled TV. So I will wait for the entire season to air, and then I will watch episode 1. I need to know that if I want to, I never do want to, but I need to know that if I want to just binge all 12 episodes, I can. The specter that, what if I get to episode 8 and I want an episode 9, but I can't get episode 9 because episode 9 is not available till a week. I can't live. I can't exist in a world where that's a possibility. So shows debut, and then I wait a couple of months, and then I watch them all. So I have done that. I did that. Now, when this show originally debuted, I think I talked about it like 2-3 months ago. I think I was like, oh my God, there's this new show on Apple TV. I can't wait. It looks so good. It's Carl Hyacin. Carl Hyacin is a writer. A lot of his stories revolve around the Florida Keys, life in South Florida. Well, he's a very funny writer, Carl Hyacin. He's funny. I'll just put it that way. He's funny. He's cool. It's a vibe. It's an energy. Carl Hyacin. So a new TV series based on a series of Carl Hyacin books have been turned into an Apple TV series, and I talked about it when it came out. It was called Bad Monkey, and there's 8 episodes, maybe 10 episodes. I don't know, whatever it is. The first season is now available on Apple TV. I finished the first season last week. Highly recommend Bad Monkey. Highly recommend it. Here's what it's about. I'll just so give you an idea. I told you it's Carl Hyacin. He writes about life in the Florida Keys, crazy Florida people, that kind of thing. Bad Monkey stars Vince Vaughn. He is so good. If you like Vince Vaughn, I love Vince Vaughn. If you like Vince Vaughn, this is like perfect Vince Vaughn material. Vince Vaughn plays a detective in the Florida Keys. He's always in trouble. He's like currently suspended. Like the course of this series, he's suspended from being a detective. So they put him in charge of food. So he's like a food cop now. So he's got to go and he shuts down dirty restaurants. But really, he's a detective. Vince Vaughn. It's a Vince Vaughn character. He's very funny. He's a very funny character. Doesn't give a shit. Probably drinks too much. Probably an alcoholic. Lives in a little shitty like beach house in like the most beautiful place in the world. He's got a shitty little house. But I mean, he's like in the Florida Keys. He's on the water. He walks out on his front porch and he can dip his toe in the white sands. It's cool. And it's just about a crazy murder mystery and the person. And it's an incredibly good murder mystery. And it's smart and it's filled with Carl Hyacin characters. And if you know what I mean by Carl Hyacin characters are just always awesome. They're like weird and they're quirky and they have strange little things. It's called Bad Monkey. It's on Apple TV. You can binge the entire first season this weekend, and I suggest that you do. You'll love it. It's terrific. It's terrific. I think you gotta like Vince Vaughn, though. You really gotta like Vince Vaughn because it's 110% Vince Vaughn. This character was like designed for Vince Vaughn. You know, that really quick patter, the fast talking, that kind of thing. Very funny. Bad Monkey. Highly suggest y'all check it out if you got Apple TV. All right, other than that, we are done. I did not hear any tips. I don't know if we did well this show or not. I know that we are in the home stretch of another pledge week, so if you can dip a little something and drop it in there, that would be greatly appreciated. We did not have an executive producer today. That hurt. Maybe we'll have one on Monday. We will see. If not, I will say some stuff to attempt to make you feel guilty enough to maybe get us across the finish line. And if that doesn't work, life will go on and we'll all still be friends. All right. Love you. We'll see you on Monday. Okay. Bye, everybody.